Chapter 48:38. Su Yaqing was still unaware of what had happened. She only felt a sudden pain in her body, and Bailey Hongzhuang's attack was about to hit her. She had no time to think. Just as she was about to block the attack, she realized that Bailey Hongzhuang had completely ignored her and had turned to attack Su Jiaqiao instead. When she saw this, she could not help but be shocked. She could not understand why. However, she soon understood because she felt a sharp pain coming from her body. Following her careful examination, she realized that she had been poisoned. She thought about it and realized that the piercing pain from before had been caused by poisoning. "You've poisoned me?" Su Yaqing stared at Bailey Hongzhuang in shock. She never thought that the other party would use such a method. However, in the face of Su Yaqing's shock, Bailey Hongzhuang could not even be bothered to reply. Besides, the other party was about to die, so there was no point in speaking. Su Jiaqiao was completely shocked when he saw Su Yaqing fall. However, he did not have the time to feel sad over Su Yaqing's death, because under the attack of Bailey Hongzhuang and the two contract beasts, he did not have the slightest strength to fight back. The injuries on his body continued to increase, and he did not even have the chance to escape. "Bailey Hongzhuang, why must you be so ruthless?" Su Jiaqiao glared angrily at Bailey Hongzhuang. "We clearly have no grudge against each other. This matter indeed has nothing to do with you. If you want to blame someone, you can only blame yourself for appearing at the wrong time." Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were cold. The first to make the wrong decision had been Su Minglei and Su Yaqing. This had nothing to do with Su Jiaqiao, but since they were already together, they must have understood what had happened. If she were to let Su Jiaqiao go, he would definitely cause trouble for her. That was not what she wanted to see. Bai Shi was enough to deal with Su Jiaqiao. With the addition of Bailey Hongzhuang and Xiao He, the result was obvious. In a short period of time, Su Jiaqiao no longer had the power to retaliate. "Where did Su Minglei go?" Bailey Hongzhuang asked. "I won't tell you." Su Jiaqiao gritted his teeth as he looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. His heart was filled with complex emotions. Previously, because Su Yaqing was injured, it was not good for her to travel all the time, so they rested for a short time. While they were resting, Su Minglei had talked to him and thought that the two of them should leave first. This was the safest way. At that time, he didn't understand why Su Minglei had decided to abandon Su Yaqing and had even argued with Su Minglei about it. In the end, Su Minglei decided to leave on his own, and he didn't stop him. However, he did not expect that Su Minglei's judgment was actually correct. Bailey Hongzhuang had really found her. "It's fine if you don't want to talk about it." Bailey Hongzhuang glanced coldly at Su Jiaqiao, and the sharp blade in her hand slashed across. "Clean and tidy." "Master, if you kill him just like that, doesn't that mean we won't be able to find Su Minglei?" Xiao He looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in confusion. Perhaps Su Minglei was somewhere nearby. "He won't talk," Bailey Hongzhuang slowly replied. "Even if I use other methods to force him to talk, I'm afraid that he won't be able to give us a specific location. The Divine Cloud Mystic Realm was not a place they were familiar with. No one knew where they would end up if they continued to walk forward. Even if Su Jiaqiao had casually made up a lie, she wouldn't be able to tell if it was true or false." Chapter 48:39. Since that was the case, she might as well search for him herself. Upon hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Bai Shi and Xiao He looked at each other. They were beginning to feel that their master was very smart and quick-witted. If my guess is correct, Su Minglei is a smart man. He must have predicted that I would come looking for him, so he ran away first. A complicated light flashed across Bailey Hongzhuang's bright eyes. She sighed inwardly. She never thought that she would be one step too late. Isn't his behavior a little too disloyal? He would actually abandon his own family members just like that. Xiao He was speechless. His behavior was truly contemptible. However, aside from this explanation, there seemed to be no other possibility. Even though he's disloyal, it's undeniable that he's very smart, Bai Shi said. If he had stayed behind, he would be dead by now. Bailey Hongzhuang took Su Jiaqiao and Su Yaqing's storage rings in her hands, and with a casual swipe, she erased the imprint on them. She flipped through the rings, and realized that there were many treasures inside. However, she did not look at them for long before putting them away. There are indeed many treasures in the storage rings of the disciples of aristocratic families. However, there aren't any particularly important items in the family. Clearly, they knew that they could perish here, so they did not bring any of their family's martial techniques or cultivation techniques with them. Nothing was more precious than a family's inheritance. However, these storage rings clearly did not contain it, so there was no need to examine them carefully. "Master, should we go look for Su Minglei now?" Xiao Hei's heart sank. If Su Minglei had run away just like that, she would not feel too good about it. "Let's go our own way. There's no need to go out of our way to look for him." Bailey Hongzhuang's expression was mild and calm. He must have deliberately changed his direction in order to avoid us. It won't be easy to find him. Previously, she had not exchanged blows with Su Minglei, so she had not left a mark on his body. She never thought that he would be so smart to have made such a prompt decision to abandon his own family. However, she believes that they would meet again sooner or later. "Sigh, what a pity." Xiao Hei sighed. "That fellow is so annoying." After the cultivators from the Jun family and the Ao family entered the Divine Cloud's secret realm, they immediately began to search for Ao Lingxiao. They had already received orders to deal with Ao Lingxiao as soon as they saw him. Although there were quite a number of people from the D family and the Lin family, they had to try their luck in the Immortal Cloud's secret realm. No one knew which side they would meet first. Once they met, they would be able to solve a huge problem. Therefore, what they cared about the most was not finding resources, but finding Ao Lingxiao. At the same time, the D family and the Lin family were also searching for them. Di Beichun walked alone in the Immortal Cloud secret realm. He had already been here for a few days, but he had yet to meet a single person. "Master, the area inside seems to be too big. We haven't met anyone else yet." Xiaobai looked helpless. Although she had already guessed that the area of the Immortal Cloud secret realm was not small, it was only after entering that she found out that it was actually this big. Indeed, Di Beichun's eyes darkened. "I wonder how Hong Zhuang is doing now." He was most worried about Hong Zhuang. Although he knew that his wife would not be in any danger with a white dragon around, he could not help but worry. After all, the Jun family and the Lin family viewed them as a thorn in their side. Chapter 4840. Looking at Di Beichun's worried expression, Xiaobai comforted him. "Master, don't worry. With White Lion, Xiao Hei, and White Dragon protecting her, Mistress will definitely not be in danger." Originally, Bailey Hongzhuang was Xiao Bai's master, but later on, its master became Di Beichun. After thinking about it, Xiao Bai changed the way it addressed Bailey Hongzhuang to mistress. Not only that, but it was also very satisfied with the way it addressed her. In its opinion, no one would be able to think of a more suitable way to address her. "That's right, master. Don't worry." Xiao Xuanzi flew beside Di Beichun. "Mistress will definitely be safe." Di Beichun nodded slightly. He also understood this, but he could not help but feel a little worried. "I feel that this Divine Cloud mystery realm is simply a maze. After entering, we haven't met anything at all. It would be good even if we met another cultivator." Xiao Bai sighed. If they could meet another cultivator, at least it would be able to roughly guess the area of this place. However, since entering, they were like headless flies. If they did not have a direction to leave in, they would not be able to differentiate between north, south, east, and west. It should be soon, Di Beichun pondered. Although he also knew that the Divine Cloud mystery realm was not small, it was already very rare for them to not meet another person for so many days. The possibility of them not meeting another person after this was very small. "Master, look over there. There seems to be a medicinal field." Xiao Xuanzi had been flying in midair all this time, so naturally it could see further. In its line of sight, it had clearly noticed the existence of a medicinal field. Hearing Xiao Xuanzi's words, Di Beichun and Xiao Bai's eyes lit up. After wandering around here for so many days, if they came across a medicinal field, it would be a good harvest. "I heard that there are many spiritual herbs in the Divine Cloud mystery realm. If we come across a medicinal field, then we can pick more spiritual herbs for Mistress." Xiao Bai's eyes sparkled with excitement. As an alchemist, Bailey Hongzhuang needed spiritual herbs very much. If he wanted to improve his alchemy skills, he would need a lot of spiritual herbs to practice. Although the D family had a large business, it wasn't easy to get some precious herbs. What's more, there were still a few alchemists in the family. Bailey Hongzhuang naturally couldn't use them casually. Even if she could, she would still feel a little embarrassed. If they could obtain a lot of spiritual grasses here, it would be even better. D. Baichen's lips curled into a faint smile as he quickened his pace. Let's go take a look. Bailey Hongzhuang continued to move forward after dealing with Su Yaqing and Su Minglei. Although Su Minglei's escape was not good news, she did not take it to heart. Many people knew that she had the pill formula for the 8 Revolutions Bodhi pill. So what? She had already mentally prepared herself. As for the spiritual herbs, although they were treasures, not everyone would be as greedy as Su Minglei and the others. They would offend her because of these. Once Su Minglei spread the news, she would also spread the news that Su Minglei had treasures on him. It was still unknown who would die more miserably. Since Su Minglei was a smart person, he would probably make a good judgment on this matter. Just as they were approaching, Bailey Hongzhuang's brows furrowed slightly as a trace of astonishment appeared in her eyes. Chapter 48-41. The stone is reacting. Bailey Hongzhuang exclaimed in surprise. Stone. Xiaohei was stunned. Clearly, she had not realized what kind of stone it was. Baisher, on the other hand, reacted immediately. Master, are you talking about the stone that you had obtained in the Penglai Palace? Based on what he had learned, his master had only obtained this mysterious stone. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded gently. That's right, it's that stone. Xiaohei immediately recalled Baisher's reminder. Back in the Penglai Palace, Bailey Hongzhuang had concocted a medicine that could heal dark-type injuries. As a reward, the palace master had promised her that she could choose a treasure of her choice. At the time, Bailey Hongzhuang had chosen such a stone. At the time, they had all felt that it was strange because this stone was pitch black and did not seem to have much value. Later on, Bailey Hongzhuang had studied it carefully. When she realized that she had not gained much from it, she had placed it in the Chaos Ring. However, she had not expected that this stone would react after entering the Immortal Cloud Mystic Realm. Master, how did it react? Baisher looked curiously at Bailey Hongzhuang. His master's taste was not bad at all. Back then, no one had known the use of this stone. However, his master had still chosen it. Now, it seems that she had made a good choice, because this stone was an item from the upper realm. Bailey Hongzhuang took out the black stone. The pitch-black stone was now emitting a faint glow. Bailey Hongzhuang could clearly sense that this stone was guiding her in a certain direction. Seeing the change in the stone, Xiaohei and Baisher looked at each other and sighed in their hearts. It's no wonder that back in the lower realm, no one had known the use of this stone. Xiaohei immediately understood. This was originally an item from the upper realm. How could anyone have discovered its use in the lower realm? Baisher nodded. However, I never thought that an item related to this stone would be in the Immortal Cloud Mystic Realm. What a coincidence. If we hadn't come here, we probably wouldn't have known the use of this stone. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curved slightly. When she first saw this stone, she had a strange feeling. She always felt that there was fate between them. It was because of this that she gave up on the other treasures and chose this one without hesitation. From this, it could be seen that feelings were also extremely important. Let's follow the direction the stone is pointing to. At the first moment, Bailey Hongzhuang had already made a decision. Since the stone had fallen into her hands, it meant that it was fated to be with her. Immediately after, the man and the 2 beasts rushed in the direction indicated by the stone. However, the area of the Immortal Cloud Mystic Realm was extremely large. Even if they traveled at full speed, they would still not be able to reach it in a short period of time. During the journey, Bailey Hongzhuang also met other cultivators. The other cultivators were the same as her. They were all alone. After the 2 sides met, because they were not familiar with each other, they did not talk. Instead, they scattered far away. Clearly, they did not wish for any conflict to break out between them. That night, Bailey Hongzhuang leaned against a large tree to rest while Baishur was responsible for keeping watch. Even though the immortal cloud mystic realm was a small world, everything here was no different from the forest in the outside world. Chapter 48-42. This immortal cloud mystic realm is really mysterious. Previously, when I heard that we would be leaving this place, I thought that there would be some powerful demonic beasts. I didn't expect that there would be nothing after we entered. I was worried for nothing. Xiaohei smiled and sighed. In the past, they would always encounter all kinds of dangers when they were training. Not only did they have to guard against the sneak attacks of other cultivators, they also had to be prepared to deal with the attacks of demonic beasts. This time, when they entered this place, they were also prepared to fight at any time. Who would have thought that after 10 days in this place, other than the time when they met Su Ming Lei and the others, everything else had been peaceful? Are you used to being tortured? White Lion looked at Xiaohei mockingly. Now that I've asked you to be a little more peaceful, you still feel that something is wrong? Xiaohei rolled her eyes. I'm not a masochist. I just feel that this situation is a little different from what I imagined. Perhaps this is the difference between the training in the upper realm and the lower realm. White Lion pondered and said, however, it seems that the training in the upper realm is not as cruel as the lower realm. At least from its point of view, the dangers here were much less than what they had encountered in the past. Master, why aren't you saying anything? Xiaohei and White Lion were chatting enthusiastically when they saw that Bailey Hongzhuang had remained silent and could not help but ask. I'm thinking about the problem that you've mentioned. Bailey Hongzhuang supported her chin with her right hand as a thoughtful look flashed across her beautiful eyes. She had been very confused about this point. However, after so many days in this place, they had not encountered any danger. Could it be that the immortal cloud mystic realm was really that simple? I still feel that it shouldn't be that simple. Bailey Hongzhuang pondered and said, even if the upper realm is different from the lower realm, their training can't be without danger. Previously, when they were in the D family, the elder did not explain much about the situation in the immortal cloud mystic realm. He only said that this place was very suitable for the growth of spiritual herbs. According to her judgment, the situation in the immortal cloud mystic realm was probably not exactly the same. Hence, there was no way to explain it. This situation was not impossible. I think so too. White Lion nodded with a complicated look in his eyes. Although the journey has been peaceful, I have a strange feeling in my heart. You feel the same way? That's right. White Lion replied with certainty. Since even you think so, there must be something wrong with this. Bailey Hongzhuang had a serious look on her face. All along, Baishur's senses had been very sharp. If she was the only one who felt this way, it might be an illusion. Since she and White Lion felt this way, it might be true. But what kind of danger could there be? Xiaohei looked puzzled. Judging from the situation in the vicinity, she really couldn't think of anything. Bailey Hongzhuang took a deep breath and said, I can't tell at the moment, but we can't relax too much. If there really is a problem, we can deal with it in time. In the blink of an eye, a night had passed. The next day, Bailey Hongzhuang and the two beasts continued their journey. She could vaguely sense that the item related to the black stone was somewhere far away. At the very least, they wouldn't be able to reach it in a short period of time. After understanding this, Bailey Hongzhuang was not too anxious. Chapter 48-43. 3 days later, Bailey Hongzhuang had been moving in the direction that the stone had sensed. On this day, after traveling for some time, she sensed the presence of cultivators in front of her. It was not just one person, but a group of people. Upon discovering this, Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Xiaohei and said, Go and find out what's going on. Xiaohei was undoubtedly the most suitable person to scout for information. It was extremely small and possessed a certain level of ability to hide its aura. As long as the other party did not look carefully, they would not be able to discover Xiaohei. Xiaohei immediately nodded. I'll go right away. After Xiaohei's figure disappeared, Bailey Hongzhuang and Baishur also hid themselves. I hope we'll run into Di Beiqian and the others. Baishur's eyes were filled with anticipation. Throughout their journey, they had hoped to run into Di Beiqian and the others as soon as possible. Even if they did not run into Di Beiqian, It would be great if they could run into cultivators from the D family or the Lin family. However, they had not run into them at all. They felt rather helpless. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded gently. I hope so. Just as they were waiting, they realized that Xiao He had not returned after a long time. Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but frown. Something did not seem right. Master, Xiao He usually gathers information very quickly. However, it has not returned after such a long time. This does not fit its usual style. Baisher had been hanging out with Xiao He ever since it was born. From the time it had been bullied by Xiao He to now, when it was bullying Xiao He. The two beasts were very familiar with each other. This was definitely not in line with Xiao He's personality. Something must have gone wrong. Let's go and take a look. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes darkened. We have to be careful. Since this had happened, the other party must be an enemy and not a friend. Although she did not want to believe it, Xiao He had not returned for so long. She must have been discovered by the other party. In the next moment, Bailey Hongzhuang and Baisher quickened their pace and quickly rushed forward. As they got closer, they were able to clearly see the situation in front of them. But when she saw it, Bailey Hongzhuang's face turned cold. In her line of sight, Jun Lingxuan, Jun Shitao, and Xiao Sou were all present. There was also another person that Bailey Hongzhuang found familiar, Su Minglei. At this moment, Xiao He was being tied up and stepped on by Jun Lingxuan with a rope. Upon closer inspection, one would realize that it was not an ordinary rope. The rope was full of barbs. Once it fell on a body, it would definitely be dripping with blood. It would be an extremely painful thing to remove it. At this moment, blood was flowing out of Xiao He's body, dyeing the ground red. Xiao He. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes narrowed. Previously, when Xiao He had not returned, she had guessed that Xiao He had been held hostage. However, she never thought that the other party would treat Xiao He in this manner. Master, I'm sorry. Xiao He's eyes were filled with shame. She never thought that the other party would discover her after she had approached them. Clearly, the other party had a treasure that could detect nearby auras. Hence, she had been discovered the moment she had approached them. Once she had been discovered, she had wanted to leave immediately. However, these fellows seemed to be well prepared, and she had not been able to free herself. In the end, she had ended up in this state. Xiao He, we will definitely save you. Baisher's eyes burned with a raging fire. He could not control the rage in his heart when he saw how Xiao He had been treated. Bailey Hongzhuang, you've really come. Chapter 48-44. Let go of Xiao He. Bailey Hongzhuang's voice was icy cold. Her dark eyes were like a frozen lake in October as she stared fixedly at Jun Lingxuan as if she could freeze everything into ice. Xiao He. Jun Lingxuan raised an eyebrow and increased the force of his foot on Xiao He. Are you talking about this furball? As Jun Lingxuan increased the strength of his foot, the barbs on the rope pierced even deeper into Blackie's body. Blackie couldn't help but let out a muffled groan as bright red blood rapidly flowed out. Stop it, Bailey Hongzhuang roared. Her eyes were deep and cold. Why should I stop it? Jun Lingxuan laughed mockingly as he stared mockingly at Bailey Hongzhuang. His voice was frivolous and playful. Why don't you kneel down and beg me? That's right. If you kneel down and beg us, perhaps we'll be in a good mood and let it go. Jun Zitao's face was full of smiles, but a trace of resentment appeared in the depths of his eyes. Weren't you very arrogant during the pill refining competition? Why aren't you arrogant now? I said let it go. A shocking murderous aura emanated from Bailey Hongzhuang's pitch-black eyes. The temperature around Bailey Hongzhuang seemed to drop to the freezing point in an instant as a domineering and powerful aura exploded from her body. Noticing the change in Bailey Hongzhuang's aura, Jun Lingxuan and the others felt their hearts tremble. They had never seen Bailey Hongzhuang like this before. The murderous intent in her eyes was almost tangible. Even though they knew that they held the absolute advantage, they could not help but feel intimidated when faced with Bailey Hongzhuang's current state. Xiao Sou's eyes flashed with deep shock when she saw Bailey Hongzhuang's current state. She never thought that Bailey Hongzhuang would be able to emit such an aura. It was truly shocking. It's just a contracted beast. I didn't expect you to care so much about it. It's not just a contracted beast. Bailey Hongzhuang's voice was cold. To her, Xiaohei was not just a contracted beast, but also her family. She was a transmigrator. From the day she was reborn, she had been alone. However, Xiaohei and Xiaobai had always been by her side. They knew everything about her and were loyal to her. With their companionship, she never felt lonely. However, these damned bastards are now treating Xiaohei in such a manner. She could not tolerate this. Although Xiao Shou was surprised by Bailey Hongzhuang's reaction, this was exactly what she wanted to see. Bailey Hongzhuang, when you had acted so arrogantly in front of me in the past, did you not think that you would one day be under my control? A complacent smile bloomed on Xiao Shou's lips. She had always wanted to see Bailey Hongzhuang in agony. The more Bailey Hongzhuang was in pain, the happier she would be. I've never paid any attention to those who have lost to me. Bailey Hongzhuang's voice was cold, and her exquisite and beautiful face showed no signs of fear. At the same time, she was communicating with the white dragon in her heart. White dragon, are you confident if you attack? She could see that Xiaohei was in a terrible state. That strange rope seemed to be able to injure her core. If it was only a flesh wound, Xiaohei would not be so dispirited. Hence, she could not afford to waste too much time here. She must rescue Xiaohei as soon as possible. Based on her and Bai Shi's powers, they should be able to deal with the other two. She would have to leave the other two to Bai Shi. Hongzhuang, you must think this through. Other cultivators could appear at any time. Chapter 48-45. We can't care about that now. The most important thing right now is to rescue Xiaohei. Bailey Hongzhuang's gloomy black eyes were like a deep abyss, hiding a power that could devour everything. At this moment, she was in no mood to care about anything else. All she wanted was for Xiaohei to be safe and for these damned fellows to pay the price. She would never let anyone who had hurt anyone she cares about get away with it. What more, her closest kin. Since you've made your decision, very well, I'll make my move. The white dragon did not hesitate. It knows that Bailey Hongzhuang has made all the necessary preparations in her heart. However, just as Bailey Hongzhuang was about to attack with the white dragon's anxious voice suddenly rang out. Wait, what is it? Bailey Hongzhuang furrowed her brows. She does not wish for any problems to arise at a time like this. I sense another aura from Jun Lingxuan's body. I'm afraid that there's another powerful existence by his side. The white dragon's voice sank. This situation has clearly exceeded their expectations. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang's heart turned cold. If Jun Lingxuan really does have such a powerful existence by his side, their current situation would be very dire indeed. At the very least, it would be very difficult for them to rescue Xiaohei. Based on your judgment, what should we do? Even though she was worried about Xiaohei's safety, Bailey Hongzhuang did not lose her sense of propriety. She understands that the more dangerous the situation, the more she needs to remain calm. I can only sense that the aura is not weak, but I can't determine its actual power. The best situation now is for me to not make an appearance. Once I do, that aura will appear as well. It won't help with the current situation. On the contrary, you'll expose the secret of the Chaos Ring. The white dragon's voice was filled with mixed emotions. It never thought that Jun Lingxuan would have such a powerful ally. However, based on the current situation, what it had said was the best way to deal with it. This news was no different from a nightmare to Bailey Hongzhuang. If the white dragon could not lend a hand, then she and the white lion would naturally not be a match for the four of them. It would be even more difficult to rescue Xiaohei. Xiao Shou's face turned ashen when she heard Bailey Hongzhuang's contemptuous words. She didn't expect Bailey Hongzhuang to be so unyielding at this moment. The most despicable thing was that the other party's words reminded her of the time when she was in the underground market. Bailey Hongzhuang had also treated her like a loser. She was the dignified young miss of the Xiao clan, yet she was actually looked down upon by someone from the lower realms. One could imagine the fury in her heart. Bailey Hongzhuang, don't be too arrogant. Xiao Shou gritted her teeth and glared at her coldly, as if she wanted to tear her into pieces. You have to think carefully. Even if that contracted beast has reached the peak of the Starlight Realm, you are still no match for us. Do you want to see your contracted beast die in front of you with your own eyes? Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes turned to Su Minglei. If she only felt disgust towards Su Minglei before, then at this moment, she couldn't wait to tear him into pieces. She regretted letting Su Minglei escape the most. If not for that, he wouldn't have fallen into such a predicament. Facing Bailey Hongzhuang's sharp eyes, Su Minglei couldn't help but shiver. However, he didn't retreat because of this. Chapter 48-46. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were like black vortexes as she looked coldly at Su Minglei. Didn't you already know the outcome from the moment you gave up on them? Are you putting on an act now when you display such a caring appearance? If Su Minglei was slightly unperturbed, then perhaps you would think slightly more highly of him. But after he'd clearly made such a heartless decision, he revealed such a caring appearance now, and that was slightly laughable. Along with Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Jun Lingxuan's group of 3 couldn't help but look at Su Minglei. Even though the decision Su Minglei made earlier wasn't a big deal to them, their own lives were the most important after all, and selfishness was human nature. But at this moment, along with Bailey Hongzhuang's words, they felt it was rather reasonable. A true villain wasn't so detestable, and it was a hypocrite that was detestable. A trace of embarrassment appeared on Su Minglei's face, as he'd never imagined that his question would actually give rise to such a topic. Bailey Hongzhuang, you're eloquent indeed, but you'll surely die here today, and you'll be buried with Yiqing and the others. Su Minglei spoke furiously. Meanwhile, the white dragon's voice resounded out in Bailey Hongzhuang's mind. Hongzhuang, there's another way now. What way? Bailey Hongzhuang was slightly stunned, and she was really unable to think of a better way in the current situation. If you're already prepared to expose the secret, then directly place Xiao He into the Chaos Ring. The white dragon's voice revealed a slightly heavy tone. If it was possible, it naturally didn't wish for the secret of the Chaos Ring to be exposed. But Xiao He was an extremely important existence as well, so it couldn't be helped at the critical moment. There's another way, and that's to place all of them into the Chaos Ring after I come out. Because I'm unable to confirm exactly what cultivation the other aura on Jun Lingxuan's body possesses, and I can't guarantee that I'll be able to defeat him. In this way, we can't enter the Chaos Ring again, and we have to wait until we have sufficient confidence to annihilate them before entering. White Dragon's eyes flashed with a complicated light. For the current situation, this was not a bad idea. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes lit up. This is indeed a good idea. As long as they could save Xiao He, that would be the best. I'll try to put them all into the Chaos Ring. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes turned cold. She was disgusted by the people in front of her. If she could get rid of them, she would be helping the D family to clear the way. All right, I'll be ready to come out at any time, White Dragon replied. After making her decision, Bailey Hongzhuang did not delay any longer. With a thought, she was about to put Jun Lingxuan and the others in her Chaos Ring. However, after she tried, she realized that she did not succeed. What's going on? Bailey Hongzhuang furrowed her brows. Ever since she had obtained the Chaos Ring, nothing like this had ever happened. Try putting Xiao He into the Chaos Ring again. White Dragon's expression was complicated as well. Bailey Hongzhuang tried again, but to no avail. How could this be? Bailey Hongzhuang was shocked. She had never noticed this problem before. Ever since they had entered the Divine Cloud's secret realm, Xiao He and Baishir had always been by her side and had never entered the Chaos Ring. Hence, she had never noticed this. Chapter 48-47. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes flashed with disbelief. All this while, they had been able to enter and exit the Chaos Ring as they pleased. However, she never thought that she would encounter such a situation in the Immortal Cloud's secret realm. Perhaps only inanimate objects can be placed in here. Living objects cannot enter another space directly. The White Dragon's voice deepened. Actually, this is also a type of restrictive spell. Only powerful cultivators can set it up. Previously, when you were in the lower realm, most restrictive spells would not be able to affect the Chaos Ring at all. However, The restrictive spells in the upper realm are much stronger than those in the lower realm. Bailey Hongzhuang tried 2 more times, but realized that there was no effect. Only then did she realize the truth. If that's the case, if you come out, does that mean that you won't be able to enter the Chaos Ring again? Her clear, cold eyes flashed with a complicated light, or you won't be able to come out at all? Based on the current situation, this was very likely. I can't be certain about this either. However, it's just as you said. If I come out, I'm afraid that I won't be able to enter again. The white dragon replied. Bailey Hongzhuang's heart slowly sank. This was definitely not good news for her. Previously, she had not placed too much importance on the dangers of the Immortal Cloud's secret realm. Because of the power of the Chaos Ring, she had many ways to escape. However, without this method, the danger of the Chaos Ring has greatly increased. At the very least, saving Xiao He has become extremely difficult. Jun Lingxuan and the others did not panic when they saw that Bailey Hongzhuang had sunk into silence. Since Bailey Hongzhuang would not be able to escape, they would just tease her for a while longer and treat it as a form of entertainment. Bailey Hongzhuang, you don't have to think anymore. No matter what you think, it's useless. Xiao Shou sneered. What on earth do you want? After realizing that their previous methods were useless, Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Xiao Shou and the others once again. She could only rely on herself now. Didn't I tell you before? If you kneel down and beg us, I will consider letting it go. Jun Lingxuan's lips curved into a playful smile as he proudly looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. With Bailey Hongzhuang's peerless face, most men would not be able to lay their hands on her. If Xiao Shou was not here, he really wanted to make Bailey Hongzhuang his woman. However, he knew that he had to look at the big picture. Right now, the Jun family had to join forces with the Xiao family. Only then would they be able to completely overthrow the Di family. Although Bailey Hongzhuang was outstanding, she did not have enough power behind her, so Xiao Shou was the most important. One of the main reasons why he was teasing Bailey Hongzhuang was to curry favor with Xiao Shou. He was well aware of a woman's jealousy. In the past, Bailey Hongzhuang had stolen the limelight. Xiao Shou hated Bailey Hongzhuang to the extreme. At this moment, he could help Xiao Shou vent her anger. Xiao Shou's impression of him would definitely improve greatly. Compared to the other suitors, his chances of winning were undoubtedly the highest. In your dreams, Bailey Hongzhuang said coldly. If that's your attitude, then there's nothing I can do. Jun Lingxuan spread out his hands and increased the strength of his feet. Xiao He could not help but groan again. Her face revealed a painful expression. Stop, Bailey Hongzhuang said through gritted teeth. Chapter 48:48. When Xiao Shou saw Jun Lingxuan venting his anger for her, a deep smile appeared in her eyes. The more pain Bailey Hongzhuang was in, the happier she was. During this period of time, she had been suppressed by Bailey Hongzhuang. Due to her engagement with Di Beichun, she had been compared to Bailey Hongzhuang everywhere. Initially, she had thought that Bailey Hongzhuang was not fit to appear on the same stage as her. Now, she has become the object of comparison. Most importantly, Bailey Hongzhuang had been in the limelight during this period of time. Many people had vaguely decided that she could not compare to her. This was an insult to her. Every time she had nightmares, she would feel a strong urge to kill her. At this moment, Bailey Hongzhuang was standing in front of them in humiliation, completely helpless at their mercy. Bailey Hongzhuang no longer had her arrogant demeanor. This made her feel a great sense of satisfaction. If you don't kneel down, I'll kill it. Jun Lingxuan pulled out his sharp sword and pointed it at Xiao He. The tip of the sharp sword pierced Xiao He's body. Fresh blood stained the tip of the sword, but Xiao He held on and did not make a sound. Her dark, bottomless eyes stared fixedly at Jun Lingxuan. The dark light in her eyes was like 2 bottomless pools, emitting a shocking murderous intent. Jun Lingxuan, after this day, if I don't die, I will kill you with my own hands. Bailey Hongzhuang spat out these vicious, murderous words. Her hands were clenched into fists as hatred burned wildly in her chest, nearly burning her entire being into ashes. Jun Lingxuan chuckled. Based on your current situation, Saying such harsh words to me won't have any deterrent effect. Bailey Hongzhuang, stop stalling for time. Jun Zitao sneered. If you don't kneel down and beg for mercy, this contract beast will really lose its life. Master, don't worry about me. Leave quickly. When Xiaohei saw Bailey Hongzhuang being humiliated by Jun Lingxuan and the others, her eyes flashed with hatred. It never thought that its master would suffer such humiliation because of it. It secretly hated its own uselessness. If it had not fallen into the hands of Jun Lingxuan, why would its master have to endure all this? Seeing its master suffer, it felt even worse. If that was the case, it would rather die a quick death. Shut up. Jun Zitao kicked Xiaohei, then looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and said, You have to think carefully. Time waits for no one. Master, forget it. It's not worth it. Baisher looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and said, Let's leave quickly. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Baisher, then at Xiaohei with tears in her eyes. Finally, a determined light flashed in her eyes. In the next moment, Bailey Hongzhuang stepped back a few steps. When Xiao So saw that Bailey Hongzhuang was about to escape, she took a few steps forward and approached Bailey Hongzhuang. Clearly, if Bailey Hongzhuang were to escape, Xiaohei would chase after her immediately. Just as Bailey Hongzhuang was about to turn around and leave, she exchanged glances with Baisher. Baisher, we only have one chance. Bailey Hongzhuang replied. I understand. Then, Bailey Hongzhuang and Baisher turned around and left as quickly as they could. They're running away. Xiao So quickly shouted. Chapter 48-49. A contracted beast was undoubtedly very important to every cultivator, but it was definitely not as important as their own life. When she saw how Bailey Hongzhuang valued Xiaohei so much, she felt a little strange. When she saw Bailey Hongzhuang turning around to leave, she realized that Bailey Hongzhuang had put on an act to divert their attention so that she could escape. When Jun Lingxuan and the others saw Bailey Hongzhuang's actions, a trace of astonishment flashed across their eyes. However, they were not overly anxious because of this. This was because from the moment Bailey Hongzhuang had appeared here, it was already destined that she would not be able to escape. However, what happened next was beyond their expectations. Just as Xiao So was about to chase after Bailey Hongzhuang, Bailey Hongzhuang suddenly flashed and appeared behind Xiao So at lightning speed. A dagger appeared in Bailey Hongzhuang's hand and was placed horizontally across Xiao So's neck. Xiao So was equally shocked. She never thought that Bailey Hongzhuang would suddenly make such a move. It was completely beyond her expectations. Bailey Hongzhuang, this is your scheme. Xiao So cried out angrily and immediately struggled to break free from Bailey Hongzhuang's grip. Don't move. Bailey Hongzhuang held Xiao So hostage. If you dare to move again, I can't guarantee that my dagger won't disfigure your face. Following Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Xiao So instantly stopped moving. To a woman, nothing was more important than her face. Bailey Hongzhuang, don't act recklessly. Xiao So's voice was filled with anxiety. She was really worried that Bailey Hongzhuang would go crazy and ignore everything. Let go of Xiaohei. Bailey Hongzhuang's gaze turned to Jun Lingxuan. Jun Lingxuan, Jun Zitao, and Su Minglei could not help but feel astonished when they saw this sudden change. Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang, who was holding Xiao So hostage, Jun Lingxuan's eyes flashed with a complicated light. He did not expect Bailey Hongzhuang to be so calm at a time like this, and even come up with such a plan. It must be said that they had underestimated her. This Bailey Hongzhuang is much smarter than Xiao So. A voice rang in Jun Lingxuan's mind. It's a pity that she doesn't have a strong background. Otherwise, I wouldn't treat her like this. Jun Lingxuan shrugged his shoulders. He had never cared about relationships. Only benefits were the most important. He did not like Xiao So. Although there were many cultivators who pursued Xiao So, he felt that most of them did not admire Xiao So herself, but her benefits and the Xiao family behind her. He was the same. If the Xiao family did not exist, any man would probably choose Bailey Hongzhuang before Bailey Hongzhuang and Xiao So, because not only was she beautiful, but she was also smart and even very capable. There was nothing to nitpick about. Bailey Hongzhuang quickly let go of Miss Xiao. Jun Lingshuan's face revealed a nervous expression and hurriedly said, "Let go of Xiao He first." Bailey Hongzhuang did not back down. "All right then." Jun Lingshuan nodded. "We'll let her go together. You have no right to negotiate with me." Her ink-black phoenix eyes flashed with a determined and ruthless light. "If you don't let her go, I'll kill her directly." Chapter 4850. Faced with Jun Shitao's threat, Bailey Hongzhuang's voice was cold and her gaze was icy. "It looks like you want Xiao So to die." Saying that, the dagger in her hand slit open Xiao So's skin and fresh blood immediately flowed out. "Stop it!" Xiao So quickly cried out when she felt the pain in her neck. She knew that Bailey Hongzhuang wanted to kill her, and her heart was filled with remorse. She had actually fallen into her hands. "Young Master Jun, let go of Xiao He at once." Xiao So looked pleadingly at Jun Lingshuan. She felt that if this were to go on, Bailey Hongzhuang would very likely kill her. After all, to Bailey Hongzhuang, she was also an extremely loathsome existence. Hearing that, Jun Lingshuan nodded. "All right, I'll let it go." In the next moment, Jun Lingshuan immediately released the rope that was tied around Xiao He's body. Immediately after that, Xiao He moved her body and quickly approached Bailey Hongzhuang. "Master." The weak Xiao He came to Bailey Hongzhuang's side. "I'm sorry, I've dragged you into this." Seeing that Xiao He had returned, Bailey Hongzhuang heaved a sigh of relief. "Don't say such silly things, as long as you're all right." But looking at the extremely weak Xiao He before her, Bailey Hongzhuang frowned. "Why are you so weak?" "There's something strange about that rope. It's been absorbing my blood essence," Xiao He said in a low voice. Ever since she had been tied up by that rope, she had discovered that the blood essence in her body was being continuously absorbed. Blood essence was extremely important to both cultivators and demonic beasts. Once the blood essence was absorbed, one's condition would quickly deteriorate. At this moment, more than half of the blood essence in her body had been absorbed, and she had naturally become like this. Absorbing blood essence? Bailey Hongzhuang's eyebrows flashed with a trace of surprise. She really didn't expect that the rope would have such an effect. "That's too vicious," Yi Futian said. White Lion's eyes also flashed with intense hatred. If they had not held Xiao So hostage, Xiao He would not have been able to live for long under the constant absorption of the rope. Even if Little Black was saved now, with its current weak state, if they couldn't find the essence blood, it would take a long time for it to recover. "I'm afraid this has something to do with Jun Lingshuan's aura." White Dragon's voice rang out. Bailey Hongzhuang's expression changed slightly. "It seems that the aura on Jun Lingshuan's body isn't anything good. Since it needed to absorb a person's blood essence, it could be seen that the cultivation method it practiced was also vicious. There were many vicious cultivation methods in this world that relied on absorbing blood essence and finding a human cauldron to increase one's cultivation. Even though the rate of increase was very fast, it was extremely vicious and was despised by many. She never thought that Jun Lingshuan, a disciple of an aristocratic family, would have such an existence by his side. "This isn't strange." White Dragon appeared to be relatively calm. "Many people put on a dignified front, but they're not good people behind the scenes. Master, Xiao He has been reduced to this state. I'm afraid that she won't be able to recover in a short period of time." White Lion sighed. As a demonic beast, he understood the importance of blood essence to a demonic beast all too well. After losing so much blood essence, Xiao He's powers would decrease by a large amount. "Bailey Hongzhuang, I've released your contracted beast. Now, you should release Lady Xiao." Jun Lingshuan spoke. Chapter 4851. Bailey Hongzhuang, you're too shameless. Xiao Sou's eyes were burning with rage. "You're going back on your word. Xiao So, get this straight. I've never said that I'll let you go. How am I going back on my word?" Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were cold. "Besides, in terms of shamelessness, I can't compare to you." Sensing the chilling chill in Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Xiao So couldn't help but turn her pleading gaze towards Jun Lingshuan. "Now, They could only rely on Jun Lingxuan to think of a solution. She had already fallen into Bailey Hongzhuang's hands, and it was obvious that nothing they said would be of any use. "Big brother, what should we do?" Jun Zitao's brows furrowed. "I didn't think that this Bailey Hongzhuang would be so smart. If we attack her directly, I'm afraid that Miss Xiao would lose her life." Bailey Hongzhuang was already a turtle in a jar, and it was impossible for her to escape. Now that Xiao Shou was being held hostage, they were instead restricted and didn't dare to make a move. Because once Xiao Shou lost her life, their alliance with the Xiao family would be affected. So no matter what, they must protect Xiao Shou. "Young Master Jun, this Bailey Hongzhuang is extremely cunning. We have to think of a way." Su Minglei's face was just as ugly. He had been avoiding Bailey Hongzhuang's pursuit all this time, worried that Bailey Hongzhuang would come looking for him. It was only after he met Jun Lingxuan and the others that he felt completely relieved. After all, the grudges between the Jun family and the Di family were clear to all of them. It was because of this that he had told them about the conflict between himself and Bailey Hongzhuang, and had asked Jun Lingxuan and the others to make preparations. He was also puzzled by Jun Lingxuan's methods. Previously, when Xiao He had appeared, he hadn't noticed it at all, but Jun Lingxuan seemed to have predicted it and had immediately ordered them to attack a certain spot. Just like that, Xiao He had fallen into their hands. In fact, even if Xiao He had appeared right in front of him, he probably wouldn't have noticed it. After this incident, he felt that Jun Lingxuan was a terrifying existence. If he could, he only wanted to leave this place as soon as possible. Unfortunately, the situation before him now's an impossible. "You've saved your life, Xiao He Hongzhuang, but you should know that she's in a very weak state." Jun Lingxuan looked at Bailey Hongzhuang firmly. "As long as you let Miss Xiao go, I'll return this thing to you. How about it?" As soon as he finished speaking, a transparent glass bottle appeared in Jun Lingxuan's hand. Inside the bottle was a bright red liquid. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes narrowed. "That's Xiao Hei's blood essence," Bai Shi hurriedly exclaimed. "That's right. That's my blood essence." Xiao Hei's eyes burned with fury. Ever since she was born, she had never been treated like this. The feeling of having her blood essence drawn out was the most painful. If we retrieve this blood essence, will Xiao Hei's condition improve? Bailey Hongzhuang asked. She didn't know much about this. After all, there are some differences between monsters and cultivators. Yes. Bai Shi nodded. Xiao Shou had also heard the conversation between Bailey Hongzhuang and her two contracted beasts. She hurriedly said, "Since that's the case, Bailey Hongzhuang, what are you still thinking about?" Chapter 48:52. The moment she threw it out, Jun Lingxuan's voice rang out. "Bailey Hongzhuang, that bottle is made of glass. Once it breaks, it will be useless." At the same time, Jun Zitao attacked Bai Shi. Seeing Jun Zitao's sudden attack, Bai Shi instinctively dodged. Seeing that the glass bottle was about to hit the ground, Bailey Hongzhuang moved and caught the glass bottle in her hand. Taking advantage of the time when Bailey Hongzhuang caught the glass bottle, Xiao Shou's inner energy surged and attacked Bailey Hongzhuang, then quickly retreated and escaped from Bailey Hongzhuang's grip. "Miss Xiao, are you all right?" Jun Lingxuan came to Xiao Shou's side, his handsome face revealing a look of concern. Xiao Shou nodded. "Young Master Jun, thank you." She knew very well that if it wasn't for Jun Lingxuan, she would have died in Bailey Hongzhuang's hands. "Miss Xiao, you're too polite. We're on the same side. As long as you're safe, I can rest assured." Jun Lingxuan's smile was still on his face, like a spring breeze. Looking at Jun Lingxuan like this, Xiao Shou's heartbeat suddenly sped up and her cheeks flushed red. Although she knew that Jun Lingxuan had feelings for her, she didn't take it to heart, because all along, there had been many cultivators who pursued her. But after Jun Lingxuan saved her, her thoughts suddenly changed. It was only now that she realized that Jun Lingxuan was also so handsome. Most importantly, she was very important in his eyes. Jun Lingxuan also noticed the change in Xiao Shou's expression, and the complacency in his heart grew stronger. It seemed that his goal was about to be achieved. Xiao Shou obviously had feelings for him, so it was only a matter of time before he completely captured Xiao Sou's heart. He had to thank Bailey Hongzhuang. If it weren't for this, he probably wouldn't have been able to make Xiao Sou fall in love with him. When Bailey Hongzhuang saw that Xiao Sou had broken free from her control, she did not pay too much attention to it. She carefully checked the blood essence to make sure that there was nothing wrong with it before handing it over to Xiao He. Xiao He, this is for you. At this moment, Xiao He was simply too weak. Bailey Hongzhuang also hoped that she would be able to recover quickly after finding her blood essence. Otherwise, it would be difficult for her to even stay awake in her current state. Thank you, Master. Xiao He accepted the blood essence. Bailey Hongzhuang, what's the use of saving your contracted beast? Today, all of you will die here. Jun Zitao looked at Bailey Hongzhuang coldly. He only felt that the other party's previous efforts were all useless. Their goal was never Xiao He, but Bailey Hongzhuang. From the moment Bailey Hongzhuang appeared here, she was destined to never leave. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled. The outcome hasn't been decided yet. Don't be happy too early. Haha, what did I hear? Jun Zitao laughed. You're just a mere 6-star light realm. You're dreaming if you want to escape from our hands. They had already learned about Bailey Hongzhuang's specific strength from Su Minglei. Even if Su Minglei repeatedly emphasized that Bailey Hongzhuang's combat strength was stronger than his, they would not put her in their eyes. No matter how strong he was, how strong could he be? Chapter 48:53. In the face of Jun Zitao's disdainful words, Bailey Hongzhuang's expression was calm, her eyes clear and unwavering, as if she was not affected at all. Big brother, let me meet this Bailey Hongzhuang and see how capable she is to be so arrogant. Jun Zitao looked at Jun Lingxuan and suggested. Hearing this, Jun Lingxuan frowned. Zitao, she's a little strange. Big brother, don't worry, there won't be a problem. Jun Zitao was full of confidence and looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in front of him. You're here, what are you afraid of? I'll take this opportunity to meet her and see what a cultivator from the lower realms is capable of. At this time, Su Minglei hurriedly spoke up. Second young Master Jun, this Bailey Hongzhuang's combat strength is much stronger than her cultivation. It's not as simple as it looks. Jun Zitao frowned and waved his hand, his face full of displeasure. What? Do you think I'm not her opponent? Seeing this, Su Minglei forcibly swallowed back the words she wanted to say. Her expression was awkward, and she quickly waved her hand. Of course not. Since you're not, then why are you talking nonsense here? Jun Zitao asked. Su Minglei immediately fell silent. He was just being kind. He didn't expect to be reprimanded by Jun Zitao, and his heart was filled with anger. He was the young master of the Su family, and he was being treated like this by Jun Zitao. If it weren't for the fact that they had more people in the Jun family, he wouldn't have bothered with Jun Zitao. At this moment, he wished that Jun Zitao would die in the hands of Bailey Hongzhuang. Who asked him to be so arrogant? He deserved it. Young Master Jun, since second young master wants to try, let him try. Xiao Sou smiled at Jun Zitao. With you here, nothing will happen. If you need help, we'll do it directly. Jun Lingxuan listened to Xiao Sou's words and nodded. Since you want to try, then go ahead. Jun Zitao had always listened to Jun Lingxuan. After seeing Jun Lingxuan agree, a smile appeared on his face. Thank you, big brother. Don't worry. I will definitely teach her a lesson and help my future sister-in-law vent her anger. Jun Zitao's face was filled with joy as he looked at Xiao Sou and Jun Lingxuan with an ambiguous gaze. As Jun Lingxuan's younger brother, he naturally knew what his elder brother was thinking. This trip to the immortal cloud mystic realm was a great opportunity for him to pursue Xiao Sou. After what happened just now, he believed that Xiao Sou would definitely become his future sister-in-law. Suddenly hearing Jun Zitao's words, Xiao Sou was slightly taken aback. Her face quickly flushed red, and her eyes were filled with shyness. Jun Lingxuan smiled and explained, Miss Xiao, my younger brother doesn't think before he speaks. Please don't take it to heart. Xiao Sou nodded her head shyly, but her heart was filled with disappointment. However, Jun Lingshuan's next words made her happy once again. Of course, if all of this can become a reality, it would naturally be the happiest thing for me. As he said that, Jun Lingshuan sized up Xiao Sou's expression. Feeling Jun Lingshuan's gaze, Xiao Sou became even more shy, not knowing what to say. Jun Lingshuan saw that he had achieved his goal and did not say anything more. He understood that for a woman to accept him, it would naturally take some time. Chapter 48-54. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the ambiguous relationship between Xiao Sou and Jun Lingshuan, and a trace of ridicule surfaced in her eyes. From the looks of it, Xiao Sou and Jun Lingshuan were bound to become a couple in the future. With such a fickle character, she had actually said that she liked Bei Chen. How astonishing. Master, I had thought that Xiao Sou was very infatuated. Back then, she had said that she liked Bei Chen. How long has it been? It's only been a few months, and she's already fallen in love with someone else. TSK, the speed at which she changes her heart is really extraordinary. White Lion's gaze fell upon Xiao Sou. He had always hated Xiao Sou, especially her arrogance and unreasonable behavior. However, he had always thought that she was acting this way because she liked Bei Chen. Now, it seemed that this woman's love was really cheap. Even Xiao He, who was busy recovering, could not help but speak up. Jun Lingshuan, you'd better think carefully. If you marry a woman like this in the future, she might cheat on you when you're not paying attention. That would be fun. Xiao Sou and Jun Lingshuan, who had originally been a couple, had an ugly look on their faces when they heard Xiao He and White Lion's words. Xiao Sou's face turned ashen, and the shyness on her face instantly disappeared. She looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with eyes full of anger. As a woman, the most taboo thing was to be fickle. Bailey Hongzhuang's two contracted beasts had put such a label on her head. She would never be able to clear her name. Bailey Hongzhuang, what nonsense are you talking about? Xiao Sou's expression was ferocious. If you dare to speak nonsense again, I'll kill you immediately. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang laughed softly. What? Did we hit the nail on the head? That's why he jumped up so anxiously? Actually, you don't have to be too angry. We all know the truth. Do you think Jun Lingshuan doesn't know? Xiao Sou was taken aback, and she quickly turned to look at Jun Lingshuan. Young Master Jun, I am not like what she said. Jun Lingshuan nodded slightly, the smile on his face unchanged. I understand. However, in the face of Jun Lingshuan, Xiao Sou could not help but worry. She didn't understand if Jun Lingshuan was trying to comfort her or something. After all, men were always very concerned about such things. At the thought of this, Xiao Sou's hatred towards Bailey Hongzhuang deepened. She must skin Bailey Hongzhuang alive and let her die in excruciating pain. Jun Lingshuan's eyes darkened. He naturally knew that Xiao Sou was very infatuated with Bei Chen, and the speed of her change was indeed very fast. However, he didn't mind, because the one he cared about was never Xiao Sou herself. Hence, he didn't take Bailey Hongzhuang's words to heart. Miss Xiao, you don't have to get angry over her. I'll go teach her a lesson now and make her kneel in front of you and kowtow to admit her mistakes. Jun Zitao's face was ashen. His big brother was finally going to be together with Xiao Sou. He didn't expect that Bailey Hongzhuang's two contracted beasts would suddenly say such a thing. It was obvious that it caused some damage. All right, Xiao Sou nodded, her eyes sinister and vicious. I want her to die here today. In the next moment, Jun Zitao took a step forward and walked to Bailey Hongzhuang's side. Bailey Hongzhuang, I'll give you a chance to fight one-on-one. Show me what you've got. Chapter 48-55. Master, don't worry. Just as Bailey Hongzhuang was instructing Bai Shi, Jun Zitao's figure flashed and turned into an invisible ray of light that attacked directly. Seeing that Jun Zitao had launched a sneak attack on her, Bailey Hongzhuang frowned, and a sharp light appeared in her beautiful eyes. The next moment, the mind-severing sword in her hand stabbed violently in a direction without hesitation. Jun Zitao did a backflip and retreated a few steps. When his figure could be seen clearly again, he was looking at Bailey Hongzhuang with an ashen face. Jun Zitao had always been very confident in his figure. He He was very good at speed. Usually, when he launched a sneak attack, the average person would not be able to react in time. However, he did not expect Bailey Hongzhuang to be able to detect his location. His eyes were suddenly filled with astonishment. "You can actually detect me? What's so strange about detecting you?" Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows, and her eyes were cold. It was true that the naked eye could not detect Jun Zitao's true location. However, she could lock onto him based on her aura. Moreover, after so many years of fighting, she had already developed a combat awareness. She did not need to think at all and could subconsciously determine the opponent's location. This combat awareness could not be described with words, but it really existed. Most importantly, it was very accurate. "At least you have some skills." Jun Zitao chuckled. He still did not put Bailey Hongzhuang in his eyes. However, this is still not enough. Vigorous power erupted from Jun Zitao's body, and a fiery red light appeared between his hands. Then, Bailey Hongzhuang felt the surrounding temperature suddenly rise. Fire attribute. Bailey Hongzhuang immediately knew Jun Zitao's attribute. The fire attribute was undoubtedly an extremely strong attribute in combat. In the next moment, Jun Zitao directly attacked Bailey Hongzhuang. The scorching temperature seemed to be able to burn the air. Jun Zitao waved his hands, and a fireball attacked directly. Once the fireball touched the body, it would undoubtedly burn. After Xiao So saw Jun Zitao's method, a smile appeared on her face. It would be best to burn all of Bailey Hongzhuang's clothes. That would be interesting. She wanted Bailey Hongzhuang to die in humiliation. This was undoubtedly an excellent method. Thinking of this, Xiao So looked at Jun Zitao with satisfaction. Although the D family had stolen the limelight during the previous pill refining competition, it seemed that things weren't as bad as his father had thought. Although the Jun family's strength was slightly weaker than the D family's, as long as they worked together, they would still be an extremely powerful force. Bailey Hongzhuang also realized the purpose of Jun Zitao's actions. Her eyes were filled with disgust, and her face was even colder. Shameless. However, Jun Zitao did not care about Bailey Hongzhuang's insults at all. He just wanted to tease Bailey Hongzhuang. Under such circumstances, Bailey Hongzhuang immediately retreated. In order to avoid the flames, she appeared to be very flustered. Looking at this, Jun Zitao could not help but sneer. "Su Minglei, I haven't seen you for a few years. I see that your combat power has greatly decreased, right? You can't even deal with this kind of strength?" Chapter 48-56. He originally wanted to remind Jun Zitao, but after hearing Jun Zitao's ridicule, he decided not to say anything else. After experiencing the previous incident, Su Minglei naturally understood that Bailey Hongzhuang was an extremely intelligent person. Perhaps she was pretending to be weak in order to lure Jun Zitao into a trap. For someone as annoying as Jun Zitao, it would be great if they could teach him a good lesson. Jun Lingxuan couldn't help but frown after noticing the situation. As far as I know, Su Minglei's strength has reached the pinnacle of the Starlight Realm. How could he not defeat Bailey Hongzhuang? Didn't Su Minglei say that Bailey Hongzhuang's contracted beast is also at the pinnacle of the Starlight Realm? Su Minglei naturally has no problem dealing with Bailey Hongzhuang. He knew that he would be at a disadvantage previously. It must be because Bailey Hongzhuang and her contracted beast attacked together. Xiao So answered without hesitation. In her opinion, there was no other possibility other than this. Jun Lingxuan nodded slightly. "I'm afraid so." Jun Zitao forced Bailey Hongzhuang to retreat again and again. She was battered and exhausted, and the complacent expression on his face was getting stronger. "Bailey Hongzhuang, do you want to kowtow and admit defeat? This way, I can give you a quick death." Jun Zitao mocked. Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't be bothered with him. "Dream on. Since that's the case, I'll show you my true power." At the next moment, the energy in Jun Zitao's body surged wildly. It was obvious that he wanted to severely injure Bailey Hongzhuang. However, just as Jun Zitao was preparing his move, Bailey Hongzhuang's aura suddenly changed from the initial Starlight Realm to Starlight Realm Level 8. Jun Zitao couldn't help but be stunned. He looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in astonishment. It was obvious that he couldn't believe that Bailey Hongzhuang's cultivation had improved so much in such a short period of time. However, Bailey Hongzhuang did not give him any time to consider. Her figure flashed, and she disappeared from the spot like a ghost. In the next moment, her attack landed heavily on Jun Zitao's body. Jun Zitao's figure suddenly flew out, but Bailey Hongzhuang's speed was even faster. Her figure flashed and appeared behind Jun Zitao. She sent out a flying kick, ruthlessly kicking the opponent's chest. The thought's severing sword mercilessly stabbed towards Jun Zitao's chest. She wanted to kill this damned bastard. Seeing the sharp sword approaching him, Jun Zitao's face turned pale, and he quickly reached out to block it. Ah! A blood-curdling scream came out of Jun Zitao's mouth as a severed arm fell to the ground. His arm blocked Bailey Hongzhuang's thought's severing sword from attacking his chest. However, the thought's severing sword was so sharp that it directly cut off his arm. Jun Lingxuan had already prepared to rescue Jun Zitao when he discovered that Bailey Hongzhuang's strength had skyrocketed. However, it was only now that he realized that Jun Zitao had unknowingly distanced himself from them during the previous battle. It was only at this moment that he realized that Bailey Hongzhuang's previous weakness was all an act. It wasn't that she couldn't defeat Jun Zitao, but that she wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to kill him. Damn it, Jun Lingxuan cursed. He didn't expect that his negligence would cause such a thing. Chapter 48:57. Among everyone present, only Su Minglei did not find this situation strange. In fact, he was a little happy. A damn guy like Jun Zitao deserved to be taught a lesson. It was just that he could not express this joy on the surface. Bailey Hongzhuang did not stop attacking after chopping off Jun Zitao's hand. She attacked again with the silk cutter sword. Bailey Hongzhuang, how dare you? Jun Lingxuan roared. His eyes were bloodshot and looked as if they would pop out of their sockets at any moment. Jun Zitao was his younger brother. The two of them had always been on good terms since they were young. If Jun Zitao died in front of him, he would definitely not be able to accept it. However, in the face of Jun Lingxuan's roar, Bailey Hongzhuang acted as if she did not hear it. Not only did the sword in her hand not slow down, but it also sped up. She was filled with disgust towards Jun Zitao. Naturally, she could not wait to make this guy disappear from this world. Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang's fast sword, Jun Zitao's eyes flashed with intense fear. He had never felt that death was so close to him. Thinking of this, he forced himself to retreat. His legs felt numb, and he did not have any strength left. However, his hands desperately crawled backward. The silk cutter's sword stabbed out and directly pierced Jun Zitao's body, making a dull sound. Ah! Jun Zitao screamed. At the same time, Jun Lingxuan came to his side. He waved his right hand and attacked Bailey Hongzhuang without hesitation. Seeing Jun Lingxuan appear, Bailey Hongzhuang was extremely fast. Her figure flashed, and she took a few steps back to avoid his attack. I didn't expect Jun Lingxuan's strength to have reached the Nebula Realm. You really can't judge a book by its cover. Bailey Hongzhuang narrowed her eyes. She had always had a bad impression of Jun Lingxuan. Only when the other party attacked at this moment did she realize that as the young master of the Jun family, his strength was extremely powerful. As expected, none of the outstanding descendants of the great clans were easy to deal with. After Jun Lingxuan rescued Jun Zitao, he found that Jun Zitao's condition was extremely bad. Not only did he lose an arm, but Bailey Hongzhuang's sword had also pierced through his body. If he hadn't been fast enough, his heart would have been pierced. Even so, Jun Zitao was unable to move at this moment. "Zitao, how are you?" Jun Lingxuan asked worriedly. Jun Zitao's face was deathly pale as he spat out a mouthful of blood. His aura was weak, and his voice was filled with despair. "Big brother, am I going to die?" "Don't talk nonsense, you'll be fine." Jun Lingxuan anxiously took out a pill and stuffed it into Jun Zitao's mouth. At the same time, Xiao Sou hurried to Jun Zitao's side, her face filled with worry. "Are you okay?" Jun Zitao's face was frail as he clutched his injured chest with his right hand. Blood continued to flow out from between his fingers. Big brother, you must avenge me. Jun Lingshuan nodded repeatedly. Don't worry, Big brother will definitely avenge you. Miss Xiao, please help me take care of Zitao. Jun Lingshuan looked at Xiao Sou, his eyes burning with anger. Xiao Sou quickly replied, Don't worry, I will take good care of him. Jun Lingshuan's face revealed a relieved expression before he turned to Bailey Hongzhuang. I didn't expect that we had underestimated you. Chapter 48-58. Listening to Jun Shitao's words, Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curved slightly, but she immediately pursed her lips. It's not the first time you've looked down on me. Haven't you gotten used to it yet? From the moment she appeared here, Jun Zitao and the others had obviously treated her as a turtle in a jar and had been toying with her. However, the final result was a slap to their faces. She had never cared about the other party's contempt, because reality would tell them that they would have to pay a heavy price if they looked down on someone, such as Jun Zitao. Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang's indifferent appearance, the anger in Jun Lingshuan's eyes burned even more vigorously. What a glib tongue! Jun Lingshuan gritted his teeth. We've indeed looked down on you before. However, we won't make the same mistake again. You must pay with your life for this. Cold words came out from Jun Lingshuan's mouth. His cold gaze was directed at Bailey Hongzhuang, revealing endless killing intent. He regretted the previous matter. Because they had relaxed for a moment, he didn't expect that Jun Zitao would suffer such a serious injury. He had to kill Bailey Hongzhuang with his own hands. Only by doing so could he help Jun Zitao vent his anger. Then let's try it. Bailey Hongzhuang's gaze was like a knife. Another bolt of lightning streaked across the void. Her delicate and beautiful face bloomed with a smile like an epiphyllum. It was like a poppy that revealed an evil and charming aura. It's hard to say who will die in the end. After noticing Bailey Hongzhuang's confident appearance, Jun Lingshuan's heart was slightly shaken. Ever since he met Bailey Hongzhuang, he realized that many impossible things had happened to Bailey Hongzhuang. However, no matter how he thought about it, he felt that Bailey Hongzhuang wouldn't be able to use any other means. Even if Bailey Hongzhuang had increased her strength to the Starlight level 8, she still wouldn't be his opponent. However, if that was the case, why was Bailey Hongzhuang still so calm? This was illogical. If it was an ordinary person, they would have long fled. Why was her reaction so different? Then I'll kill you. Even though Jun Lingshuan had a strange feeling in his heart, he didn't care too much because he had a trump card that ordinary people wouldn't expect. In the next moment, Jun Lingshuan's attack directly attacked Bailey Hongzhuang. His attacks were extremely swift and fierce, showing no mercy at all. It was obvious that he really wanted to kill. In order to avoid any unforeseen circumstances, he had to kill Bailey Hongzhuang as soon as possible. Just kill you Hongzhuang. Hongzhuang is a white dragon. She couldn't let Hongzhuang. She couldn't let Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang didn't stop either. Her hands flipped rapidly, and a complicated and wonderful seal quietly appeared. Noticing Bailey Hongzhuang's actions, Xiao Sou couldn't help but frown. She turned her gaze to Su Minglei, who was idling not far away, and said, Su Minglei, why are you just standing there? You should attack too. Su Minglei originally planned to stand there and watch the show. Ever since he fought with Bailey Hongzhuang, he felt that this woman was very strange. Especially after seeing how Bailey Hongzhuang dealt with Jun Zitao, he realized that it wasn't a wise move to make this woman his enemy. He even wanted to sneak away secretly. He felt that the situation wouldn't be good if he continued to stay here. Chapter 48-59. In this regard, Su Minglei felt helpless. However, since he had already been noticed, he naturally could not take advantage of this opportunity to leave. Otherwise, it would be equivalent to directly falling out with the Jun family. This was not a wise move. After all, he was now standing on the opposite side of the D family. If he were to go against the Jun family and the Xiao family as well, it would not do him any good. Then, Su Minglei joined the battle as well. When she saw that Su Minglei had joined the battle, a trace of resentment flashed across Xiao Sou's eyes. Bailey Hongzhuang, I'd like to see how arrogant you can be now. From the moment Bailey Hongzhuang had appeared, they had clearly held the absolute advantage. Who would have thought that until now? They would still be led by the nose by Bailey Hongzhuang. This feeling made her extremely unhappy. Therefore, she wanted Bailey Hongzhuang to die. She would not allow any more unexpected situations to occur. When Jun Lingxuan saw Su Minglei appear, he frowned slightly. He then glanced at Xiao So, but did not say anything in the end. You want to avenge your family. This is also a chance. Jun Lingxuan said calmly. Su Minglei nodded. I want to kill her for their souls in heaven. In the next moment, Jun Lingxuan and Su Minglei's attacks arrived at the same time. When the White Lion saw this situation, it did not rashly charge forward because the difference in power between the two parties was too great. If it were to charge forward, it would only be seriously injured. Seeing the White Lion's actions, Xiao Sou could not help but chuckle. Bailey Hongzhuang. Even your contracted beast is unwilling to help you when death is at hand. In their eyes, the White Lion's retreat had exposed Bailey Hongzhuang behind it. It was clearly betraying its master. Bailey Hongzhuang, however, did not pay any attention to him. The seal in her hands was finally completed, and a mysterious power appeared between her hands. Then, a mysterious door appeared with a loud bang. A heavy and mysterious aura quietly appeared, revealing a strange and magical power. Jun Lingxuan and the others frowned and looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in surprise. What method is this? Jun Lingxuan's eyes were filled with doubt. He had never seen such a method before. It was simply too shocking. Su Minglei was also at a loss. He shook his head and said, I didn't see him use this method before, so I don't know what it is. They could feel that what Bailey Hongzhuang was using at the moment did not seem to be a martial art, but the power emitted by the door made their hearts palpitate. This feeling was like a primordial beast awakening, hiding the power to devour everything, making people feel weak in their hearts for no reason. She's only a cultivator from the lower realms. How could she possibly have such a powerful trump card? Xiao So was shocked. She looked at the mysterious black door that was mixed with the color of blood. Her feelings were extremely complicated. What is this door? Why do I feel a terrifying aura? Jun Zitao's eyes widened. Even though his injuries were very serious, he still pulled himself together when facing this door. In his line of sight, the black door was made of an unknown material. It exuded an indescribable heaviness. The mottled bloodstains seemed to be flowing flames as they flowed on the door, revealing a somber and despairing air. That's right, it was despairing. Chapter 4860. Bailey Hongzhuang. Is this the trump card you're relying on? Jun Lingxuan's face was grave and serious as he stared at Bailey Hongzhuang with his cold eyes. If he hadn't taken all of this seriously before, then his thoughts had changed at this moment. That's right. Bailey Hongzhuang's beautiful eyes were as calm as water, and her voice was as cold as ever. In the next moment, the heavy and strange door slowly opened, and a figure suddenly appeared before everyone's eyes. As the figure appeared, everyone's eyes were filled with shock. In their line of sight was a figure that looked like a qilin and a lion. Its huge body was as big as a mountain, and its eyes were filled with murderous intent. The moment it appeared, a powerful and unparalleled aura exploded and sent chills down everyone's spines. This is the qilin lion beast. Su Minglei swallowed a mouthful of saliva. His eyes widened and his face was filled with shock. It looks like a qilin and a lion. It must be the qilin lion beast. Jun Lingxuan was also in a daze as he stared at the figure that had suddenly appeared. His heart had long been in turmoil. Why? How did Bailey Hongzhuang do it? This thought kept circling in his mind. The qilin lion beast was not an ordinary demon beast. It was a divine beast. It was extremely difficult for them to even see such a demon beast. Bailey Hongzhuang could actually make it fight for her? What kind of technique was this? There was a moment of silence, and time seemed to have stopped. Xiao Sou and the others' faces stiffened, and they felt that they must be dreaming. Master, you actually summoned the qilin lion beast? White Lion's eyes were filled with astonishment. He thought that his master would summon the centipede from before. He did not expect her to summon the Qilin Lion Beast this time. This Qilin Lion Beast was even more powerful than the centipede. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly, her expression showing a trace of exhaustion, but her eyes were exceptionally bright. When she was summoning, she thought of the Qilin Lion Beast and wanted to see if she could successfully summon it. When Jun Lingxuan, Su Minglei, and Xiao Shou joined forces, their battle prowess was not to be underestimated. If they only summoned the giant centipede, it would still be somewhat lacking. However, if he could summon the Qilin Lion Beast, it would undoubtedly be more advantageous. This Qilin Lion Beast's true appearance is quite impressive. It looks much better than the last time we saw it. Xiao Hei sighed. The last time she saw the Qilin Lion Beast, it was covered in bruises and was extremely ugly. It was completely unbefitting of a divine beast. This time, Bailey Hongzhuang had summoned a Qilin Lion Beast that was safe and sound, which was much more powerful. How did you do it? Xiao Shou looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with a burning gaze. Her beautiful and delicate face was filled with a strong sense of urgency. This method was simply too shocking. If she could obtain such a method, her future would be even more dazzling. Just by thinking about it, one could imagine how she would look like in the future. She would be the center of attention. A strong sense of jealousy spread in her heart, and her murderous intent grew. The more outstanding Bailey Hongzhuang's performance was, the stronger her murderous intent grew. Chapter 48-61. After Xiao Shou had voiced her thoughts, Jun Lingxuan and the rest all looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. They too wanted to know how Bailey Hongzhuang had managed to achieve this. To them, this method was simply too unbelievable. You want to know? Dream on. Her icy words were filled with mockery and ridicule. Her obsidian-like eyes glowed faintly, revealing a peerless sharpness. Didn't you always think that I came from the lower realm and that my methods and abilities could not be compared to yours? Now that I take a closer look at you, you look like you've never seen the world. As soon as these words came out, Xiao Sei Wu's face was also stiff. She had blurted it out because she was too shocked. At this moment, she was mercilessly ridiculed by Bailey Hongzhuang. She also felt that she had lost face. However, Xiao Shou, Jun Lingxuan, and the rest could not refute her words. This was because even they themselves thought so. Ever since Bailey Hongzhuang had appeared, she had displayed many abilities. Not only was she not weaker than them, she was even more outstanding than them. Attack! Bailey Hongzhuang shouted coldly, and the Qilin Lion Beast's eyes suddenly turned to Jun Lingxuan and Su Minglei. Its tyrannical aura burst out, and under the others' horrified eyes, it rushed directly towards them. White Lion, let's attack together. Bailey Hongzhuang spoke again, lowering her voice. This Qilin Lion Beast is extremely powerful. Based on my current spiritual energy, I can't summon it for too long. We have to end this quickly. Yes, Master. White Lion nodded hurriedly. Its figure flashed, and it joined the battle. Bailey Hongzhuang's face was slightly pale. Summoning the Qilin Lion Beast was indeed difficult. However, she was very satisfied with the results. As the Qilin Lion Beast battle powers exploded, Jun Lingxuan and the rest could clearly sense that the Qilin Lion Beast power had reached Nebula Level 2. This level of strength was something that they could not contend against. Damn it! Jun Lingxuan cursed. This Qilin Lion is too strong. He had already used all of his powers, but he was still being beaten back by the Qilin Lion Beast. Even if he teamed up with Su Minglei, they were still no match for the Qilin Lion, let alone the White Lion and Bailey Hongzhuang. The situation was reversed in an instant. Jun Lingxuan and the others no longer had any advantage. Seeing this, Xiao Shou immediately joined the battle. This Qilin Lion is too strong. We are no match for it. Su Minglei was so shocked that he didn't know what to say. At this moment, he couldn't help but feel lucky that Bailey Hongzhuang didn't use this method when they fought. Otherwise, he would have died long ago. And now, the thought of retreating had sprouted in his heart. After fighting Bailey Hongzhuang twice, he no longer wanted to be enemies with Bailey Hongzhuang. Now, he only felt that Bailey Hongzhuang was an undefeatable existence. No one knew what kind of trump card she had. As he thought about it, Su Minglei began to retreat. If he didn't escape now, only death would await him. Su Minglei, you're not thinking of escaping, are you? Xiao Shou immediately noticed Su Minglei's actions and couldn't help but question him. She's too strong. We're all going to die if we stay here. Why don't we split up and escape? Maybe we'll have a chance of survival. Chapter 4862. Su Minglei, if you dare to leave now, I won't let you off in the future. Jun Lingxuan's eyes were also filled with anger. Previously, when Su Minglei met them, he said all kinds of nice things in order to ask them to help him deal with Bailey Hongzhuang. However, at this moment, after such a situation, Su Minglei actually wanted to escape. It was too abominable. Feeling Jun Lingxuan's anger, Su Minglei's footsteps paused slightly, but in the end he still chose to speed up and escape. Whether or not he would have to bear the anger of Jun Lingxuan and Xiao Shou in the future depended on whether they could survive after today. If he continued to stay here, he was afraid that he would not be able to see the sun tomorrow. Looking at Su Minglei's rapidly escaping figure, Jun Lingxuan and Xiao Shou's eyes were filled with anger. In their hearts, they secretly decided that if they saw Su Minglei in the future, they would definitely kill this treacherous bastard. After seeing this scene, the already seriously injured Jun Zitao's face became even paler. Only now did he understand that Su Minglei's exaggerated reaction was true. Bailey Hongzhuang's combat power was too shocking. Even if her cultivation was only at the 6th stage of the Starlight Realm, with such combat power and means, even a Nebula Realm cultivator would not be her opponent. Big brother, Miss Xiao, don't worry about me. Hurry up and leave. Jun Zitao shouted with all his strength. He understood that if Jun Zitao and Xiao Shou chose to leave, there was still a possibility of survival. The reason why they did not have the intention to leave was because of him. After being seriously injured, he did not even have the strength to stand up, let alone escape. Zitao, don't say such stupid things. I won't leave you behind. Jun Lingxuan's face was ashen. No matter what, he would not leave his own brother behind. Bang! The Qilin Lion's fist fiercely hit Jun Lingxuan's chest. The powerful and terrifying force caused Jun Lingxuan to fly backward. After breaking a few trees in succession, he fell heavily on the ground, stirring up a cloud of dust. Uffed! Jun Lingxuan clutched his chest, bright red blood spurting out. Clearly, he was seriously injured. After Jun Lingxuan was seriously injured, Xiao Shou's shoulder was also bitten by the white lion's sharp teeth. Ah! Xiao Shou crazily screamed. Her face was pale and filled with panic. Bailey Hongzhuang, hurry, make it shut up. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes seemed to be looking at an idiot. Xiao Sei Wu, are you out of your mind? After White's T-Tess, white Tess, to avenge Shout TS's. T-Tess white lion T-Tess, drag to T-Tess, directly T-Tess of T's to T's to S it. In the blink of an eye, everything had happened in the blink of an eye. Bailey Hongzhuang held the sharp sword in her hand and flew towards Xiao Shou with the thoughts-severing sword. She would never show mercy to her enemies. Quick attack! Jun Lingxuan lowered his voice and shouted. TSK Tisk. A sinister and hair-raising voice rang out. Then you better remember what you've promised me. Don't worry, Jun Lingxuan replied. Just as Bailey Hongzhuang was about to approach Xiao Shou, she suddenly froze on the spot and stopped in her tracks. Chapter 4863. Just as Bailey Hongzhuang was about to attack Xiao Shou, she suddenly felt an aura enter her mind and began to fight for control of her body. What are you trying to do by entering my mind? Bailey Hongzhuang felt a chill in her heart as she asked icily as she stared at the spirit in her sea of consciousness. It was a woman. Her features were extremely ugly, and her entire being emitted a gloomy aura. Bailey Hongzhuang felt extremely uncomfortable the moment she sensed it. She was almost certain that this woman was a heretic cultivator. Only a heretic cultivator would emit such a demonic energy. The woman's eyes lit up with interest when she noticed that Bailey Hongzhuang was not surprised by her appearance. Aren't you curious as to how I had appeared? What's there to be curious about? Bailey Hongzhuang's expression was cold and arrogant. You must be the spirit that had been hiding in Jun Lingxuan's body. The white dragon had warned her about the existence of this spirit a long time ago. Hence, she had always been on guard. However, she never thought that this spirit would enter her sea of consciousness directly. You can actually sense it? A sense of shock appeared in the woman's eyes. I've been by Jun Lingxuan's side for so long, and no one has ever sensed my existence. How did you sense it? Is it important how I sensed it? Bailey Hongzhuang asked in return. The most important thing now is for you to get out of my sea of consciousness immediately. Hearing this, the woman chuckled. Since I'm here, I naturally have no intention of leaving. As she spoke, the woman began to size up Bailey Hongzhuang's sea of consciousness. What a powerful physical body with outstanding looks. You'll definitely be able to charm many men. All these years, I've been searching for a physical body that fits my requirements, but I've never been able to find one. However, your appearance is truly a pleasant surprise. The woman looked at Bailey Hongzhuang as if she was looking at her own food. Her eyes were filled with greed and satisfaction. Perfect. This is a perfect body. The woman's face was filled with excitement. All these years, she had been relying on her soul to survive. Even though he had always wanted to search for a suitable physical body, this was no simple task at all. She didn't care about ordinary bodies at all. Since she was looking for one, she naturally had to find one that suited her the most. Moreover, with the strength of her soul, an ordinary physical body wouldn't be able to withstand it. Although she had previously viewed Bailey Hongzhuang in a different light, it was not until she entered Bailey Hongzhuang's sea of consciousness that she understood that this was a perfect body for her. Bailey Hongzhuang's heart was filled with disgust when she felt the woman's covetous gaze, but she also understood her thoughts. You want to possess my body. Some powerful cultivators had their physical bodies destroyed after encountering danger. But as long as their souls still existed, they would not completely perish. Therefore, these powerful cultivators would often use the method of possession, devouring the souls of others and using the bodies of others to survive. Not only that, there were also some elderly cultivators who had been unable to break through their shackles, but were unwilling to die. They would also use this method. Actually, many people were not unfamiliar with this method. However, it still filled them with disgust. That was because this was simply too outrageous. Chapter 4864. Most importantly, the death of one soul was something that no one else would know about. Therefore, everyone would think that this person had suddenly changed. There was no doubt that if this sorcerer were to consume her soul, knowing her personality, she would run amok and do something extremely terrifying. Bailey Hongzhuang's heart sank. She may have heard of this kind of possession, but she has never experienced it. At that moment, she was at a loss for what to do. Don't even think about it. Even if your soul is rather powerful, you are no match for me. The woman's eyes were filled with joy. She had been living as a soul and had to rely on Jun Lingxuan. This made her feel extremely unhappy. As long as she has her own physical body, she would be able to survive. Come, be obedient and allow me to consume you. The woman's smile was strange and greedy. Her soul did not hesitate as it pounced towards Bailey Hongzhuang's consciousness. In your dreams, Bailey Hongzhuang cried out icily and began to fight with the woman's soul. As they fought, Bailey Hongzhuang's sea of consciousness also turned upside down. Bai Shi and Xiao He could not help but worry when they noticed the strange change in Bailey Hongzhuang. Master, what's wrong? Xiao He quickly asked. Master, are you all right? Bai Shi looked anxious. He could not understand why Bailey Hongzhuang had suddenly frozen in place. No matter how they called out to her, she did not respond. As Bailey Hongzhuang's consciousness began to fight, the Qilin lion beast also began to disappear through the door. It had been summoned by Bailey Hongzhuang's consciousness and was under Bailey Hongzhuang's control. At this moment, it could no longer feel Bailey Hongzhuang's pull and naturally left. Xiao Sou's face was filled with astonishment when she noticed this sudden change. However, she could not help but feel pleasantly surprised. What's going on? Xiao Sou looked at Jun Lingxuan. Bailey Hongzhuang was about to win. Why did everything suddenly change? Jun Lingxuan forced himself to stand up, a trace of viciousness appearing on his handsome face. It won't be that easy to kill us. Hearing those words, Xiao Sou's eyes were filled with joy. Young Master Jun, did you do this? Jun Lingxuan nodded slightly. That's right. She's not the only one with a trump card. I have one too. In fact, he was also a little surprised. Even though he knew how powerful the spirit was, he still believed that it would take some time to deal with the Qilin lion. He didn't expect that everything would be stopped in such a short time. He couldn't understand how it was done. Most importantly, he did not see the soul attack, but Bailey Hongzhuang seemed to be frozen in place, unable to move. It was really strange. Of course, in front of Xiao Sou, he would never show it. After hearing Jun Lingxuan's confirmation, the look of joy on Xiao Sou's face turned into admiration. I never thought that young Master Jun would have such a trump card. I don't care. I'm going to kill you first. The white lion turned its vicious gaze toward Xiao Sou. It was all because of this damned woman that its master had to endure so much. Even though it did not know what had happened to its master, it had seized this rare opportunity, and it must kill this woman. Chapter 48:65. If you want your master to die, then do it. Jun Lingxuan's voice suddenly rang out. The corners of his lips curled into a cold smile as he stared fearlessly at Bai Shi. Clearly, he was certain that Bai Shi would not dare to make a move. What on earth have you done to my master? Bai Shi roared angrily. No matter how much he thought about it, he could not understand what had just happened. Jun Lingxuan laughed softly. Her life is now in my hands. If you dare to act blindly without thinking, I can guarantee that she will die a horrible death. Bai Shi and Xiao He looked at each other but did not make a move in the end. Ever since they had followed their master, they had never encountered a situation like this. Compared to Xiao Sou, they naturally valued their master's life more. Noticing the fear in Bai Shi and Xiao He's eyes, Xiao Sou's eyes flashed with complacency and viciousness. She immediately took out a pill and swallowed it. She then broke free from Bai Shi's control and quickly approached Jun Lingxuan. Young Master Jun, how did you do it? Xiao Sou stared at Jun Lingxuan in amazement. They had thought that they were going to lose, but Jun Lingxuan had changed the outcome. Jun Lingxuan put on a mysterious smile. Miss Xiao, everyone has their own secrets. I believe that you understand? Xiao Sou nodded. I understand. Don't let her off. You must kill her. Every time she thought about how she had nearly died at Bailey Hongzhuang's hands, she felt a lingering fear in her heart. She no longer wished to find out about Bailey Hongzhuang's secret. She only wished that Bailey Hongzhuang would completely disappear from this world. Because of all these unforeseen events, her heart could no longer take it. Bailey Hongzhuang was a terrifying existence. Jun Lingxuan smiled and nodded. Don't worry. None of them will be able to escape today. At the next moment, Jun Lingxuan turned his gaze to Bai Shi. His gaze was cold and vicious. Bailey Hongzhuang's life is now in my hands. Kill yourself now as an apology. Otherwise, I'll kill her immediately. Bai Shi's expression stiffened when he heard this. What? You don't believe me? Jun Lingxuan raised his eyebrows. How about I try it now? Stop! White Lion hurriedly shouted. Then kill yourself. Jun Lingxuan looked at Bai Shi proudly. He clearly remembered that this guy had attacked him just now. Although he had already taken the pill, his injuries were still serious. It was extremely difficult to deal with White Lion with his own strength. The only way was to use Bailey Hongzhuang to threaten them. He believed that these two contracted beasts would not dare to disobey him. After seeing this scene, Xiao Sou and Jun Zitao revealed proud smiles on their faces. Every dog has its day. Victory is still on our side. Jun Zitao heaved a sigh of relief. His entire being seemed to glow with vigor. Bai Shi looked hesitant. He did not know what to do. Bai Shi, don't believe his words. If you really kill yourself, they won't let Master off. Don't do anything stupid. Xiao He hurriedly said. Then what about Master? Bai Shi had a complicated look on his face. Until now, Bailey Hongzhuang had not made any moves. This situation was just too strange. Master will be fine, Xiao He said with certainty. Chapter 4866. Jun Lingxuan stopped dreaming. Bai Shi's eyes were icy cold. When it had noticed the sudden change in its master, it had been too flustered and its mind had not been clear for a moment. Now that it has calmed down, it understood what was going on. If you could really kill my master immediately, you would have done it long ago. Why would you wait until now? I'm sure that you can't kill my master immediately, can you? Jun Lingxuan's expression sank when he heard Bai Shi's words. He never thought that these two contractual beasts would be so smart and would not fall for his trick. It's fine if you don't believe me. After all, once Bailey Hongzhuang dies, you'll all die as well. Jun Lingxuan chuckled, as if he did not care about this at all. As long as Bailey Hongzhuang dies, Xiao He and Bai Shi, as contractual beasts, would naturally die with Bailey Hongzhuang as well. He was very confident that as long as that spirit attacked, Bailey Hongzhuang would never be able to survive. After all, he had experienced the power of that spirit firsthand. If it had not been for the fact that he had to pay a huge price every time she attacked, he would have asked her to attack long ago. However, as long as he could kill Bailey Hongzhuang, the price would be worth it. The situation had reached a stalemate. Bailey Hongzhuang and the spirit were engaged in a fierce battle in her mind. The other party kept trying to devour her spirit while she tried her best to stop it. During this battle, Bailey Hongzhuang realized that this spirit was extremely powerful. She guessed that its predecessor must have been a very powerful being. If it had not been for the fact that she had not possessed a physical body for many years and her spiritual power had weakened significantly, she would not have been able to fight back at all. Even so, it was not easy for her to deal with this spirit. Her spirit stones had been greatly weakened after she had summoned the Qilin lion beast. Now, it was even more difficult for her to deal with this battle. The woman clearly did not expect Bailey Hongzhuang to be able to hold on for so long under her devouring. This made her feel a little tired. After all, she had put in a lot of effort to maintain the strength of her spirit. It would not be easy for her to replenish her depleted spirit stones. The woman's attacks became even more ferocious at the thought of this. She had to end this battle quickly and obtain Bailey Hongzhuang's physical body. Bailey Hongzhuang's heart shivered when she sensed the sudden increase in her opponent's attacks. Just then a thought appeared in Bailey Hongzhuang's mind. Thinking of this, Bailey Hongzhuang mobilized the power of light and began to attack the evil cultivator. Di Beichun and Mo Yunjue moved forward like this. Suddenly, their eyes turned to the front. Di Beichun's eyes lit up. Ever since he entered the Immortal Cloud's secret territory, he had always been alone, until they came across a herb field and met Mo Yunjue. The two of them had been traveling together ever since. They had been traveling for a few days now, but they had not met any other cultivators. They felt rather helpless about this. At this moment, they only hoped that they could find Bailey Hongzhuang as soon as possible. They did not know why, but they felt worried as if something bad had happened. Chapter 4867. In fact, they had not met any other cultivators along the way, and their hearts were pounding. They did not know if it was because the Immortal Cloud Mystery Realm was too big, or if it was because of their luck. If it was really because of their luck, they did not know whether they were lucky or not. This was because they hoped to meet their companions as soon as possible, especially Bailey Hongzhuang and Ao Lingxiao. Only when they found Bailey Hongzhuang would they be able to calm down. Ao Lingxiao was undoubtedly in the most danger in the Immortal Cloud Mystery Realm. The later they met him, the greater the danger. Beichun, as long as Ao Lingxiao changes his appearance, it should not be easy for others to discover him. Mo Yunjue's dark and deep eyes flashed with a cold and serious light. His voice was gentle as he put forward his thoughts. Ordinary cultivators might not be able to recognize him, but the cultivators from the Ao family and the Jun family have already locked onto his aura. A person's appearance can be changed through disguise, but one's aura cannot be concealed. Ao Zhengquang and the others are so familiar with him that even if his appearance is different, they would be able to recognize him immediately. He had asked Di Xiaofeng about this before. The cultivators from the upper realm were able to determine their identities based on their aura. If the disguise technique was extremely good, it might be able to confuse them for a period of time. However, this only applied to cultivators who were not very familiar with them. If it was someone who was very familiar with them, it would not be able to fool them. When he heard this news, Di Baichun sighed in his heart. It seemed that when they had changed their appearance and returned to Rong and City previously, it was also quite risky. Fortunately, they were not recognized at that time. The biggest reason for this was that when they were in the House of Raging Flames, they did not make many friends. Therefore, most people were not familiar with them and naturally could not recognize their aura. Hearing Di Baichun's explanation, Mo Yunjue furrowed his beautiful eyebrows. In that case, Ao Ling Xiao is indeed more dangerous. Let's speed up. Who knows? The person who is fighting now might be Ao Ling Xiao. Di Baichun nodded slightly. They had only been in the Immortal Cloud Mystery Realm for about 10 days. Normally, cultivators would not obtain any outstanding treasures. The battle in the distance was so intense. Perhaps it really was Ao Ling Xiao. Bai Shi and Xiao He had been paying attention to Bailey Hongzhuang's situation. When they saw that their mistress's face was turning paler and the corners of her lips were bleeding, the two beasts could not help but panic. Why can't I understand what kind of situation Master is in? At this moment, Xiao He could not be bothered with the fact that her body had yet to recover. Under such circumstances, she was not in the mood to think about these things. She was only worried about Bailey Hongzhuang. White Lion shook its head. It was also unfamiliar with such a situation. Previously, it had not noticed what Jun Lingxuan had done to its master, but its master had already become like this. It was really too strange. If this continues, I'm afraid Master won't be able to hold on for much longer. From Bailey Hongzhuang's pale, bloodless face, it could be seen that she was struggling with all her might. Jun Lingxuan, what have you done? Bai Shi's eyes were filled with a dark haze as a cold, killing intent wreaked havoc. Chapter 4868. Young Master Jun, if it's possible, let's settle this matter as soon as possible. Xiao Sou's words were cold, and her eyes were as dark as the night sky, filled with malevolence and urgency. This Bailey Hongzhuang is no pushover. She has brought us a lot of trouble ever since she had appeared. If we don't get rid of her as soon as possible, I'm worried that we won't know what kind of unforeseen events will happen in the future. Don't worry, she will definitely die today. Jun Lingxuan raised his long brows and his eyes were filled with confidence. However, this Bailey Hongzhuang holds many curious secrets. It would be a pity to let her die just like that. I'm afraid she won't tell us. Xiao Sou's expression was complicated as a vicious light flashed in her deep eyes. After experiencing so many unforeseen events, she could only hope that Bailey Hongzhuang would fall. Even though she was envious of Bailey Hongzhuang's methods, she knew very well that based on Bailey Hongzhuang's personality, she would never divulge this secret to them. Rather than that, they might as well just kill her. A dark light flashed in Jun Lingxuan's eyes as he stared at Xiao Sou's desperate look. Actually, he too had hoped that this battle could be resolved as soon as possible. However, even he himself did not know what was going on. Ever since that spirit had left, Bailey Hongzhuang had become like this. Vaguely, an idea appeared in his mind. That spirit had been searching for a suitable physical body. Could it be that she had taken a liking to Bailey Hongzhuang? At this moment, no matter how he tried to communicate with that spirit, he could not get any response. Just like how Bailey Hongzhuang would not respond to Bai Shi and Xiao He. Perhaps, the situation was just as he had predicted. Jun Lingxuan's eyes darkened at the thought of this. Even though he had promised to help the spirit find a suitable physical body, he did not want to do so. Because once that spirit had successfully taken over the body, she would never help him again. Moreover, if he knew her secret, he might be silenced by her instead. That would be the worst. Thinking of this, Jun Lingxuan turned to look at Xiao Sou and asked, Miss Xiao, how is your current situation? Do you still have the strength to fight? Xiao Sou was already worried about how to deal with Bailey Hongzhuang as soon as possible. After hearing Jun Lingxuan's question, a hint of joy quietly appeared in her eyes. I'm fine with it. Xiao Sou subconsciously looked at her injured shoulder and said, Although my combat ability has been affected, I can still do it. Then let's end this quickly. Jun Lingxuan pursed his thin lips, and a trace of coldness flashed through his ink-black eyes. He was also seriously injured, but after taking a pill and resting for a short period of time, his condition had recovered quite a bit. Bailey Hongzhuang clearly no longer has the strength to fight, while Xiao Hei's condition was extremely terrible. Similarly, there was no need to fear her. As such, they only needed to deal with Bai Shi. The scales of victory had already tilted towards their side. All right, after making their decision, Jun Lingxuan and Xiao Shou no longer hesitated and attacked at once. Jun Lingxuan immediately attacked Bai Shi, while Xiao Shou turned her target towards Bailey Hongzhuang. She desperately hoped that Bailey Hongzhuang would fall as soon as possible and did not want to cause any more trouble. Seeing Jun Lingxuan and Xiao Hei's actions, Bai Shi's eyes were as cold as a frozen lake in October, chilling to the bone. Xiao Hei, let's fight. Chapter 48-69. In the blink of an eye, the battle had erupted. Bai Shi had blocked Jun Lingxuan's attack, but he could not protect Bailey Hongzhuang. Xiao Hei was already heavily injured, and her condition was extremely weak. However, for the sake of Bailey Hongzhuang, she immediately enlarged her body and stood in front of her. Xiao Shou's sharp sword stabbed towards Xiao Hei without any hesitation. Xiao Hei used all her strength to block the attack. Elemental energy shot out, and streaks of light from the sword flashed past. Xiao Shou could dodge, but Xiao Hei cannot. This was because if it chose to dodge, the attacks would land on its master's body. Hence, it could only endure them all. Within a short period of time, Xiao Hei's body was riddled with holes and dripping with blood. Xiao Hei's eyes, which had always been filled with vigor, gradually dimmed. Xiao Hei felt all the strength in her body dissipating. She glanced reluctantly at Bailey Hongzhuang behind her, as if she wanted to remember her face forever. Master, I may not be able to stay by your side any longer. Her gentle gaze was filled with nostalgia and reluctance to part with Xiao Hei. She could vaguely see tears in her eyes before they finally turned into determination and unyielding. In the next moment, Blackie's figure moved and pounced directly at Xiao Shou. Even if she had to die, she would help her master get rid of the scourge. When Xiao Shou noticed Xiao Hei's actions, her eyes flashed with disdain and ridicule. You're already at the end of your rope. You can't possibly kill me. However, Xiao Hei ignored her words. The elemental energy within her body began to surge wildly. Then, Xiao Hei's body began to expand in front of everyone's eyes. Sensing Xiao Hei's movements, Bai Shi and Jun Lingxuan could not help but look over. Xiao Hei. Bai Shi's pupils shrank, and he could not hide the shock and anxiety on his face. Miss Xiao, be careful. It's going to self-destruct. Jun Lingxuan hurriedly shouted. He never thought that the contract beast would choose to self-destruct in order to kill Xiao Shou. Originally, Xiao Shou didn't quite understand Xiao Hei's actions. Now that she heard Jun Lingxuan's reminder, a trace of panic quickly appeared on her face. You lunatic! Xiao Shou hurriedly retreated. The power of self-destruction was extremely terrifying. If Xiao Hei really self-destructed while hugging her, then no matter if it was her or Xiao Hei, there would be nothing left of them. However, no matter how Xiao Shou struggled, Xiao Hei hugged her tightly and refused to let her go. Xiao Shou, even if I die, I will drag you down with me. Xiao Hei's gaze was ferocious and stubborn. It gritted its teeth, and its white fur was already dyed red with blood. However, it no longer cared about any of this. Xiao Hei, don't do anything stupid. Bai Shi's eyes were bloodshot. When he had found out about Xiao Hei's actions, his heart had been shaken. Even though the current situation was so dangerous, he never thought that things would turn out this way. This was because they had often lingered on the edge of danger in the past, but had always managed to avert it. However, when he thought about Xiao Hei's actions, perhaps they really were powerless to turn the tables this time. If that was really the case, he would end up like Xiao Hei and drag Jun Lingxuan down with him. Chapter 48-70. Hearing Xiao Hei's words, Bai Shi nodded. There was a trace of sadness in its smile, but its eyes were filled with determination. You won't be alone. Even if I have to die, I will drag Jun Lingxuan down with me, so that my master will have a chance of survival. It had already understood the situation before its eyes. It was obvious that Jun Lingxuan had no way of controlling its master's life, and that was why it had decided to take action. As long as they perished together, then its master would still have a chance of survival. After hearing Baishir's words, Jun Lingxuan's brows furrowed with anxiety and worry. He never thought that these two contracted beasts would come to such a decision. These two fellows were just too ridiculous. Had they decided to give it their all in order to protect their master? He subconsciously turned to look at Bailey Hongzhuang. Although contracted beasts had always been extremely loyal to their masters, that was because of the master-servant contract between them. Once the master falls, the contracted beast would not have any chance of survival. However, how many contracted beasts would actually take the initiative to go to such lengths for their masters? Madness. These two contracted beasts have gone mad. Xiao Sou's pretty face was filled with terror. The glee in her eyes had long disappeared and was replaced with fear and dread. Young Master Jun, what should we do? She tried desperately to break free from Xiao He, but Xiao He stuck to her like a dogskin plaster, not giving her any chance to escape. Jun Lingxuan's expression was just as complicated. This sudden turn of events had left him at a loss for what to do. When Di Beichen and Mo Yunjue arrived, they saw the situation unfolding before their eyes. Within their line of sight, Bailey Hongzhuang's face was pale white and blood was flowing from the corners of her lips. Xiao Hei's fur had been dyed red with blood, and it was gathering its strength in a frenzy to self-destruct. Although Baishir had suffered less injuries than Xiao He, it was still a very serious injury. How tragic was that? Their eyes were almost dyed with traces of blood at the first moment. Anger swept through their hearts, igniting their chests. Di Beichen's eyes, which were as bright as obsidian, turned cold in an instant. They were filled with oppression and killing intent, and the domineering aura of a powerhouse that said, "Those who submit to me will prosper, and those who resist me will perish." You're courting death. His cold voice was like a cold lake. Under this cold chill, the surrounding temperature seemed to drop in an instant, condensing into ice. That was the woman he loved the most. She was the woman he would protect for the rest of his life. She was the woman he placed in the palm of his hand. But now, they were seriously injured by these damned bastards, and their two contracted beasts were even planning to self-destruct. The scene completely infuriated him. An indescribable feeling of blood spread in his heart. Kill, 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 kill. This was the only thought that appeared in Di Beichen's mind. He wanted to kill all these people in front of him. Only in this way could his anger be appeased. Mo Yunjue's expression instantly turned cold as well. A surging murderous intent swept through the air and almost condensed into a solid form. Even though Bailey Hongzhuang's sweetheart was not him, his desire to protect Bailey Hongzhuang has never wavered. She was the person he cared about the most, the person he placed at the tip of his heart at all times. These damned bastards had actually dared to do such a thing. He would never forgive them. The sudden voice shocked Xiao Sou and the others. When they saw Di Beichen and Mo Yunjue's figures, their expressions turned ugly. Chapter 48-71. When White Lion heard Di Beichen's voice, its despairing face was instantly dyed with a sense of pleasant surprise. It immediately looked at Xiao He and exclaimed, "Xiao He, stop! There's a turning point." Previously, they had indeed been driven to a dead end. That was why they had made such a choice. Now that the reinforcements have arrived, Xiao He naturally no longer had to choose to self-destruct. Hearing this, Xiao Hei's eyes flashed with astonishment. Then, it turned into pity and a look of relief appeared on its face. I can no longer turn back. As long as all of you are safe, I can rest assured. Once they had chosen to self-destruct, there was no turning back. Long before this, it had already understood that there was no way out for itself. However, now that it had seen Di Beichen and the others appear, it felt that its master's life was not in danger. Hence, it was completely at ease. At least everyone was still alive. It was just that it would be leaving first. Hearing Xiao Hei's words, White Lion's expression turned sorrowful. That's right. How could it have forgotten that self-destructing was a path of no return? If one had not been driven to a dead end, no one would have made such a choice. When Di Beichen and Mo Yunjua noticed Xiao Hei's situation, their hearts turned cold. They were secretly annoyed that they had arrived too late. If they had arrived here earlier, then the situation would not have reached such an irreversible point of no return. Xiao Hei. Xiao Bai stared anxiously at Xiao Hei. Her face was filled with worry. Hurry up and try to stop. You can't die like this. Seeing Xiao Bai's appearance, a smile appeared on Xiao Hei's face. I've tried my best, but there's no way to stop this. Xiao Bai, it's great to see you again before I die. For as long as it could remember, it had lived with Xiao Bai. It had been so many years that even it could not remember how many years they had lived together. Even though they were usually noisy and chatty, in their hearts, each other had long been a part of their lives. When Xiao Bai saw Xiao Hei's appearance, her eyes turned red. Then, she charged towards Xiao Hei without hesitation. We've always been together. Even if we die, we should die together. Noticing Xiao Bai's actions, Xiao Hei's pupils shrank. Her eyes were filled with disbelief. Xiao Bai, are you crazy? Why did you come here to die? If we're going to die, we're going to die together. We've always lived together. How can you leave without me? Little White had obviously made up his mind. His face was calm and unperturbed. He then turned around and looked at Di Beichen. Master, I'm sorry, I have to go first. Remember to apologize to Mistress for me. We weren't able to accompany her to the end. However, these have been the happiest days of our lives. Don't do anything stupid. Di Beichen's expression was grave. Think of something. Perhaps there's still a way to turn things around. Hearing this, Xiao Bai and Xiao Hei looked at each other. Their lips curled into a smile. Since that's the case, let's give it a try. Knowing that they were going to die, they had nothing to fear. Then, Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai activated their cultivation techniques at the same time. They overlapped their hands, and the energy in their bodies was connected. Chapter 4872. After noticing Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai's actions, everyone understood that they were trying to stop the self-detonation. Di Beichen's expression darkened. He did not know if the situation could be reversed. No one had ever tried self-detonation before. However, their predecessors' experience told them that there was no turning back from self-detonation. Even so, they still harbored a glimmer of hope in their hearts. After all, many things in this world could turn from the impossible into the possible. Why do I feel that Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai look like a picture when they spin? Bai sure looked at Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai in astonishment. Right now, he only hoped that nothing would happen to them. All these years, he had long gotten used to playing around with Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai. If they left just like that, he would not be able to accept it. This seems to be a yin-yang 8 trigrams diagram. Mo Yunjue raised his long eyebrows. His eyes, which were as black as a deep pool, were like stars in the dark night, revealing his deep thoughts and wisdom. Hearing this, Di Beichen nodded after taking a closer look. That's right, it's a yin-yang 8 trigrams diagram. In the past, Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai had used a similar technique, and it was extremely powerful. This is a very mysterious diagram that is filled with a mysterious and chaotic power. Bai Shi's eyes lit up. He had some understanding of Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai's trump card. However, he did not know what effect Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai would have on this technique. You overestimate yourselves. A mocking look appeared in Xiao Sou's eyes. Everyone knew that once someone chose to self-detonate, they would not be able to survive. She did not expect Di Beichen and the rest to be so naive. They had hoped that there would be a way out of this, and had even sacrificed the life of another contract beast. In her opinion, this was simply laughable. Compared to Xiao Sou, Jun Lingxuan was not in the mood to pay attention to these things at this moment. He was already heavily injured. They could deal with 2 contracted beasts, but now that Di Beichen and Mo Yunjue were in their peak condition, they were no match for them. Once they started fighting, they would only be courting death. Therefore, the only way now was to escape. Miss Xiao. Jun Lingxuan lowered his voice and hurriedly shouted while Di Beichen and the others were paying more attention to Xiaohei. "Let's run," Jun Lingxuan hurriedly said. Xiao So nodded repeatedly. She naturally understood how bad the current situation was. Only by quickly escaping would they have a chance of survival. In the next moment, the two of them turned around and retreated. Jun Zitao's face was deathly pale. He could not understand why there were so many unforeseen events today. First, Bailey Hongzhuang's strength had destroyed everything. Then, when they finally managed to turn the tables, Di Beichun and the others appeared. His mood was simply fluctuating, making it difficult for him to breathe. Jun Lingxuan quickly came to Jun Zitao's side and supported him, intending to leave. Seeing this, Jun Zitao could not help but say, "Big brother, put me down. With a burden like me, you can't escape at all." His injuries were too serious. Under Bailey Hongzhuang's attacks, it was not easy for him to be able to hold on to his last breath. Escaping with him was simply a burden. Not only was there no possibility of leaving, but everyone would have to stay here. Rather than that, it was better to abandon him and leave directly. Chapter 4873. Looking at Jun Lingxuan's solemn and serious expression, Jun Zitao was touched. "Big brother, I know you're good to me, so I can't drag you down. Let me stay here. If you die because of me, I won't be able to rest in peace. Don't spout nonsense. The outcome is still unknown." Jun Lingxuan's expression was grave and serious. He understood that given the current situation, they might not even be able to escape on their own. It would be even more difficult for them to escape with Jun Zitao. However, even though he knew the situation, he was still unwilling to give up just like that. He had never thought of giving up on his younger brother and fighting for a chance of survival for himself. "Big brother, you've always cared for me since I was young. I understand that you're good to me. Even if I die here today, I won't regret it. So, don't do anything that makes me sad. Hurry up and leave." After Di Beichun and Imo Yindu noticed Xiaohei and Xiao Bai's situation, there was a trace of worry between their brows. However, they could not help in this situation. The only thing they could do was pray and hope that Xiaohei and Xiao Bai could turn everything around. After returning to his senses, Di Beichun looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with concern, but realized that the latter did not react to his appearance. "Baisher, what's going on?" Di Beichun hurriedly asked as his beautiful face was filled with worry and confusion. "I don't know what Jun Lingxuan did to Master to suddenly become like this." Baisher's expression was somewhat helpless. No matter how I asked, Jun Lingxuan refused to tell me. As Baisher's voice fell, Di Beichun's gaze locked onto Jun Lingxuan. When he realized that the latter was planning to escape, his eyes, which were as deep as the ocean, were immediately dyed with a deep and cold light. "Jun Lingxuan, what did you do to my wife?" Di Beichun's cold voice was filled with a murderous aura that almost condensed into a substance. Di Beichun's eyes narrowed, and his ink-black pupils were filled with a peerless edge. Everyone present could sense this terrifying murderous intent and domineering aura. Even Jun Lingxuan could not help but shiver. Ever since he had met Di Beichun, he had never treated him well. However, this was the first time he had seen such a terrifying side to Di Beichun. Xiao Sou's heart was also filled with shock and horror. She had always known that Di Beichun was handsome, and she had been mesmerized by him since the first time they met. His handsome face looked as if it had been meticulously carved by the heavens. The contours of his face were as sharp as a knife, cold and hard without losing his handsomeness. Under his sharp brows, his eyes, which were as deep as the ocean, were deep and mysterious. It was as if he could devour a person's soul with just one look. At this moment, Di Beichun's entire body exuded a cold and terrifying aura. He was as noble as a god and as a messenger of hell, exuding a bloodthirsty and terrifying murderous aura. Under the influence of this murderous aura, even they could not help but tremble and feel that it was difficult to resist. It was as if this kind of person was destined to be in a superior position since he was born. He could turn everything into ashes with just a raise of his hand. The questioning words struck Jun Lingxuan's heart. Looking at the pair of terrifying and murderous eyes, he was so weak that he did not dare to answer for a moment. After a long while, he finally broke free from Debachen's aura. The shock in his heart grew even stronger. A cultivator from the lower realm actually had such a terrifying and shocking aura. Chapter 4874. Debachen you. Jun Lingshuan was so intimidated by Debachen's aura that he was momentarily at a loss for words. He felt as if his opponent's gaze could directly freeze him into ice. That terrifying, murderous aura had almost affected his mind. Under this gaze, he did not dare to lie at all. No, this can't be. Jun Lingshuan screamed madly in his heart. His opponent was just a person whom he had never paid any attention to. Now he could actually influence his mind. This was something he would never allow. Debachen had already unleashed his murderous aura. He was well aware of the power of a murderous aura. That dense murderous aura could directly affect a person's mind. Under such circumstances, it was best to get the truth out of him. Jun Lingshuan's face flushed red. He gritted his teeth. Even though this feeling made him feel as if he was about to collapse, he knew very well that he absolutely could not say it out loud. Otherwise, it would be no different from trampling on his dignity. To be intimidated by a young brat from the lower realm was a joke in itself. I won't tell you, Jun Lingshuan said coldly. Hearing this, Debachen's eyes turned sharp. Since that's the case, I'll force you to tell me. That was the woman whom he had risked his life to protect. No matter what method he had to use, he would find a way to break it from Jun Lingshuan. In the next moment, Debachen's figure moved and directly approached Jun Lingshuan. Mo Yunjue's face had been gloomy the entire time. His eyes, which were as deep as black holes, were gathering a terrifying whirlpool storm. This damn bunch actually dared to hurt Hong Zhuang. He would never allow that to happen. Xiao Shou stood on the spot and stared blankly at Debachen and Mo Yunjue. She did not know why, but when faced with the murderous aura emanating from their bodies, she felt her mind go blank. It was only when the two of them were getting closer and closer that she finally reacted and hurriedly said, "Quick, let's run. Big brother, it'll be too late if we don't leave now." Jun Zitao also shouted with a pale face. He was already a cripple, and he absolutely could not implicate his elder brother. You want to escape? Dream on. Debachen did not give them any chance to escape. These damned bastards, from the moment they attacked Hong Zhuang, their fate was sealed. He would definitely kill these fellows. Jun Lingshuan looked at the rapidly approaching Debachen, then looked at Debachen on the ground, and suddenly said, "How about we make a deal? You don't have the right to make a deal with me." Debachen's voice was extremely cold, revealing an unquestionable meaning. "If you kill us now, you will never know the solution to Bailey Hongzhuang's current situation." Jun Lingshuan forced himself to remain calm. Since there was no chance to escape now, he could only try to make a deal with Debachen. No matter what, he could not throw his life away here. "Do you think I'll believe you?" Debachen's gaze was as sharp as a knife, and there was a trace of disdain in his voice. "As long as you die, the thing you used on her will also disappear." "No, it's not like that." Jun Lingshuan shook his head, and his face was filled with seriousness. "I don't mind telling you that the reason she became like this is not because of the martial skill I used." "Then what is it?" Chapter 4875. As long as you promise to let us live today, I will tell you about this matter. How about it? Jun Lingshuan looked at Debachen with a burning gaze. This was the only way he could think of at the moment. "You trust me that much? Aren't you afraid that I'll go back on my word?" Debachen's eyebrows revealed a trace of astonishment. The people of the Jun family had always been crafty and crafty. He never thought that Jun Lingshuan would say something like this at this moment. "I know that you're a gentleman." Jun Lingshuan's expression was complicated, but his voice was filled with certainty. At this moment, Mo Yunjue's voice rang out. "Since you said that this matter was not caused by your martial skills, then do you have a way to resolve Hong Zhuang's current situation?" Following Mo Yunjue's words, Jun Lingshuan's expression suddenly turned ugly. He originally wanted to play dumb and fool Debachen into agreeing to it. Then, this matter would have a turn for the better. However, He never thought that this unfamiliar man would actually poke at the heart of the problem with his words. If it was anything else, he could make up some nonsense. However, he had no way of contacting that spirit at the moment. How was he going to resolve this? After noticing the change in Jun Lingshuan's expression, Di Beichen's expression also darkened. Since there's no way to resolve this, then you can die. Di Beichen did not give Jun Lingshuan any chance to speak. He brandished the severed passion sword and attacked Jun Lingshuan without hesitation. This damn guy should have died long ago. The reason why they were in so much danger and why their family was in such a predicament was all because of this damn Jun family. Long before entering the Immortal Cloud's secret realm, they had already made up their minds. As long as they met any cultivators from the Jun family, they would not show any mercy. As long as these guys were dead, the family's troubles would be much easier to resolve. Di Beichen, Jun Lingshuan could not help but shout out. However, when he saw that the other party had no intention of speaking to him, his heart turned cold. With his cultivation, he might still have a slim chance of survival if he quickly escaped now. But if he left like this, then Shi Tao would definitely not be able to survive. He couldn't do that. At the same time, Mo Yunjue attacked Xiao Sou. This ugly and despicable woman had been humiliating Hong Zhuang in every possible way. He wanted to kill her to avenge Hong Zhuang. Seeing Mo Yunjue attacking her, Xiao Sou couldn't help but ask, "What benefits did Di Beichen give you? I can give you double. No, 3 times. As long as you help us deal with Di Beichen, you can ask for anything you want. What do you think?" From her point of view, Mo Yunjue was not a member of the Di family. As long as she gave him enough benefits, it wouldn't be difficult to convince him. However, Mo Yunjue only answered her with a weapon in his hand. He didn't even want to say a word to such an ugly woman. The battle instantly broke out again. Di Beichen did not hold back at all. His murderous aura and blood aura completely exploded. The thick blood aura mixed with the surging murderous aura formed a terrifying aura that completely exploded, enveloping Jun Lingshuan and the other 2. Jun Shitao was already seriously injured. Even after taking a pill, his condition did not improve much. At this moment, under the influence of this aura, he could not help but spit out blood. His entire face was extremely ugly. He did not doubt that if he continued to be enveloped by this aura, he would lose his life soon. Chapter 4876. He was already puzzled when he saw Bailey Hongzhuang's terrifying techniques. He didn't expect Di Beichen to have such techniques as well. Could it be that the techniques of the lower realms were already unknown to the cultivators of the upper realms? Even though his heart was filled with shock, he wasn't in the mood to think about it carefully. The most important thing now was to protect his own life. Therefore, even though his body was extremely weak, he still tried his best to move away. As long as he could get away from this aura, he would still have a chance of survival. After exchanging blows with Di Beichen, Jun Lingshuan discovered that Di Beichen's cultivation had also reached the nebula realm. This discovery shocked him. He clearly remembered that when Xiao Sou told him before, Di Beichen was only at the starlight realm. How could Di Beichen reach the nebula realm in such a short time? One had to know that this level of strength was very outstanding even among the cultivators of the upper realms. How did Di Beichen do it? Most importantly, Di Beichen's cultivation had increased so quickly in such a short time. How did he cultivate? Shock and doubt lingered in Jun Lingshuan's mind, but he couldn't think about it carefully. He could only do his best to deal with Di Beichen's attacks. Both of their strengths were about the same. In addition, he was already injured, so his combat strength was affected. If not for the fact that Di Beichen's martial techniques were still slightly lacking, he wouldn't be a match for him at all. Under such circumstances, he would definitely lose his life if he was slightly distracted. Di Beichen's killing intent was no joke. He only wanted to tear him into pieces. Xiao Sou originally thought that the cultivation of the man in front of her wasn't very high. After all, she had never seen him before. She only knew that he was Bailey Hongzhuang's friend. The reason she remembered him was because he was extremely handsome. Even when he stood beside Di Beichen, he didn't pale in comparison. Handsome men were always easy to remember. Therefore, even if she had only seen him once, she would still remember him clearly. However, after exchanging blows, she realized that her opponent's strength was not to be underestimated. What she found most unbelievable was that her cultivation was actually inferior to his. How was this possible? Xiao Shou immediately felt that the world was too crazy. Why were these fellows from the lower realms so powerful? This shouldn't have happened at all. After realizing that she was not Mo Yunjua's opponent, Xiao Shou's mind was racing. Young Master Jun, I have an escape talisman that was given to me by my family. It is my greatest means of survival. However, this escape talisman can only take 2 people away at most, and once I use it, I don't know where I'll end up. The only thing we can be sure of is that we will still be in the Immortal Cloud secret realm. If it doesn't work, then we'll just leave. Xiao Shou transmitted her voice to Jun Lingxuan. This was her last resort. This escape talisman was an extremely precious treasure to her family. As long as she had this escape talisman, it was no different from having another life. If it wasn't for her identity as the Saint of the Light Maiden, her family would never have given her this escape talisman. She had never thought that she would have to use it here. However, based on the current situation, it couldn't be helped. When Jun Lingxuan heard that Xiao Shou had an escape talisman, his eyes lit up with joy.